I'm not worried about doing, being straight laced and have my tie on and all that shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vice Principal Stevie in the house.
Going with Superintendent Papa.
Yeah. What's up? Yeah, he's intense right there. Mario Kart just came out on his phone. He fucking can't lose.
Well, the Mario Kart, it was Snake and Tetris combined.
Oh shit!
Snafu on television.
Y'all, infidels, you know where it is. Twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horsemen, Wednesday night, 6:15. We're all pretty excited for this show, and it should be a very interesting conversation tonight. We got a special guest coming on in just a little bit, but we're glad you're here hanging out with us wherever it is at russobrand.com, hackerhameen.podbean.com, or twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horsemen, or even now youtube.com/benhameen. Anywhere you need a fix of truth, you guys can find us. We're always there, easy to get to and pass along to somebody who needs to be woken up in 2019, infidels, because you know how we're doing it. It's back to the old school on this track. I feel invincible. The new school ain't really got rules. They lack principles. Got more clowns than Motowns. They put it critical. The gun Smokey Robinson. You need a miracle, and you're going to need a miracle tonight, homie, when you have to listen to the truth. But we're talking the deep state with Dr. David Janda here on your Conspiracy Horseman. YOLO. Yes, we're here, guys. As it fills up in the chat room, good to see you. And, some of you got that 2019 spirit. I definitely want to be. I saw some great transformation. Stevie Richards Fitness today. People looking great for 2019 already. Like we said, got to jump on it back in November, December. Don't be left behind, you guys. We're making a movement together to get our minds right and get our bodies healthy. So definitely join up, and it's a good support group if you need it. And I got my support group here with me tonight. I know we're all pumped up. Straight from his parent-teacher conference, it's the man himself, Big Steve Areno, Blue Tie Order. How's it going, bro?
That's right. We're going to hand out fines to everybody for dress code violations. Pop and I are the only ones.
God damn
it. You can share bits to go towards the fines that Sal and Bit are incurring. No, I just figured it'd be fun. You know, we like to bust each other's balls, and I figured this would be good fodder tonight. That I told my wife, and she was like, "Aren't you going to be hot in that? Isn't that going to be uncomfortable?" I go, "Yeah, but just to pop the boys. What do you?"
Stevie, you're hot in any piece of clothing.
Isn't there a house show tonight? Yeah. Isn't there a house show tonight in Atlanta or something? Are you going to the house show after?
Somebody was in office.
The most wonderful feeling in the world is that I had no fucking idea that it is. I don't care.
I'm joking. I just busted balls.
He was there, quote, visiting friends.
Yeah, he was there seeing people this afternoon. That's why he had to get all dressed up.
I still would have worn soccer shorts that I'm wearing right now.
Speaking of soccer shorts, the nicest legs of all of us, Big Sally Balls. How's it going, bro?
Oh, it's going, not blue.
Sally thought you were going somewhere else with that. That was tremendous. You caught him off guard.
No, he didn't. I was with him the whole time.
Yeah.
Listen, play along, sunshine. Come on.
It's yes and, man. It's always yes and. Yeah, we're doing good. I'm excited about today, sort of, and because you know what, I'm excited. I really want to kind of hear this dude talk, but same time, he's gonna open up some shit, and if he pulls an Alberino and fucking flips my wig, I'm gonna be pissed off again.
Hey man, that's good that we can have to be submitted by someone who's far stronger and is far more informed and connected that way. That's we're lucky to be the conduit and reach out and have a platform to bring it to the masses and hopefully let this guy
And if anybody can't do it, this guy right here, Papa Don.
I think he can do
it. Nice segue.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Straight from his private audition at Twins Talent Agency this afternoon for the new Sopranos prequel. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you. You look great.
Thank you. I told him, put him in the fucking bathroom, and I got the part, so I'm good to go.
Good.
And then I told him, go get your fucking shine box, and it was all good and gravy.
That's it.
But regardless of the fact, I'm doing well, man. Doing well. I got a gray shirt to match my gray house. So stealing money from people with the reverse mortgages, everything's going well here. I mean, I don't look as pretty as Stevie Richards. I mean, the guy wore a tie for guys. Is that clip on?
No, it's not. I tied it right before it came on.
Better. That's even better. That's awesome.
Even with CT, awesome. I still remember how to do this somewhat.
Nice.
I think it's amazing that I fought the dress code for so many years in WWE and on the Conspiracy Horsemen, I just voluntarily just dress up. So fight the power.
You know what's funny? I thought I was gonna get shit for wearing this shirt today. I didn't get a chance to change from work, so that's why I'm all dressed up. But uh, I thought I was gonna get shit from Stevie. Like, remember when Joe Rogan, his man crush, had SpaceX Elon Musk on, and he wore a pink shirt, and Stevie was like, "Oh wow, he's wearing a pink shirt, trying to impress Elon Musk," and Elon Musk don't give a shit. And now we got Dr. Stevie over here in his blue shirt, and his blue tie.
Elon was wearing Finn's NWO shirt.
That's
He's had a T-shirt on. He didn't give a fuck.
That's right.
And that's the funny part, because I mean, the contest now is to see whose sweat pits are going to be bigger, mine or Rogan's, by the end of the show.
It'll be. Go ahead.
Quick question though, Sally Balls. How was your appearance on Rogan's show this week?
You know what? I had to bail.
Why? Why'd you pull out?
There was a lot of stuff going on that we can't talk about on air. Can't talk about on air. Yeah.
A lot of violations.
A lot going on in the works.
Gotcha. A lot of violations for the PR department of CERN. You couldn't do it.
No, there's just we had a lot to discuss. We have a lot to go on. We'd like to keep it quiet, and when it's time to reveal itself.
You doing $1 million challenge?
Right now, I have a team of lawyers who is working on some things for me. So
nice.
We're gonna keep it quiet. Once the lawyers give us the go ahead, then I'll let you guys know, and I'll let you expose it on the air.
They better have something good, because we gotta outdo last month's. That's the biggest thing we're worried about.
You know that picture I sent you guys today? I guess it was fan made. I'm hoping it's fan made, because it was genius marketing of the Ghostbusters 3, and it says the tagline, "Never send a woman to do a man's job." Yeah. Right? I got this guy on Facebook giving me shit about it right now, saying how it's misogynistic and it's not nice.
Go fucking piss on him.
That's exactly what I did. I told him to go back to a safe space. Yeah. That's wrong with this world. They can't even take a joke anymore.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Chat room blowing up says, "Wow, GGP looking smooth, bro." Yeah, that's right.
Smooth operator, my friend.
All the hot chicks, as we know, in the Conspiracy Horsemen chat room, going crazy tonight.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, I think Bassmaster Dust, she really likes you. But yeah, we got them from all over. Baron Lecter, our German contingents in the house tonight. Monroeville Mahler, Dude Bud, all the hardcore Hollies are here. So appreciate you guys joining us and loading up the chat room early before we bring our guest on in about 7 minutes here. So it's been kind of a really crazy week of non-news kind of outrage culture, as we see this story with the kid from 16-year-old standing in front of a tribal elder, and we passed around that Rogan clip today, and it really kind of took the piss out of that conversation, because all we saw was this viral video clip where it obviously is gonna elicit a reaction in everyone. However, the greater 2-hour story of what unfolded was kind of done by a decent journalist with some integrity, who even threw herself under the bus on Rogan this week. And I thought it was a good conversation. You can even catch the 17-minute best of clip. But it speaks to a bigger thing of how easy it is and what people can be susceptible to and triggered by for this outrage culture with an MK Ultra trauma-based mind control. And I was talking to Russo earlier. I don't know if he sent you, Stevie. He wanted to know about the Tavistock Institute. When he gets hot, when he finds out about these things, he thinks we're kayfabing him. And, he's like, "Why didn't you tell me, bro? Why haven't you told me about this?" I'm just like, okay, there's like 9 parts that takes 3 years to research. Here's where they are. But, this is what they're doing through social media to have this reaction to drive closer to civil war. What are you guys feeling about this? Non-incident almost, it should be classified as.
To me, it's just, again, this is going to be one of those things that this is going to be one of the things they're going to go back to because they got caught. So, like, what was the dude's name? Brian.
Nick something or other. No.
No. Brian. The guy from NBC, the guy who got busted for fucking lying, for faking the news.
Yeah, no.
And he got fucking fired.
Brian
Williams.
Brian Williams.
Right. He got busted. Pop it down right on top of it. So yeah, Brian Williams got busted doing fake news. Okay, what happened? Nothing. He got fired. They came back. Like, honestly, nobody gives a fuck anymore. Geraldo Rivera got busted doing fake dodging fucking weapons fire. What happened? They go, "Oh, it's Geraldo." Boom, 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 and it's over. This same thing will happen, and they're going to look at this and say, well, look how fake this is. Look at fucking CNN, what pieces of shit they are. And everybody will go, yeah, they're pieces of shit. Oh, wait, hang on a sec. They're telling me what a piece of shit Trump is. Hang on. Oh, man. And it goes right back to it.
Right on the head. If these kids weren't wearing Trump hats,
hats
this wouldn't be an issue.
That is an instant. Do you realize right now, wearing a Trump hat out in public, you are automatically deemed an instigator in any sort of action against you?
Well, you saw what they changed.
I wish my merch got that much heat.
Yeah, right. Mine does, so you can go get some of it at prowrestlingtees.com/Ben Hameen.
I just threw you that one right there. I want to talk really quickly while I remember two way more egregious things.
Normal speed.
Yeah, two way more egregious. Well, King of the Speed Round up there who answers the questions before anybody else, so I'm gonna get ahead of him.
Brian Williams.
So thank you. The two really most egregious things when you're talking about mainstream media are the fact directly correlation to Brian Williams. Look, you got the pyramid eye right over you.
I know. I'm feeling real Crowley right now, bro.
So Hillary Clinton told almost the same exact story as Brian Williams, as Geraldo, and got caught in the lie by the mainstream media, and they glossed it over.
Right.
Go all the way back to the Gulf War, where the CNN people are basically on a set acting like they're in Iraq. And they're making jokes, and they got the missile there, and there's palm trees that are fake, and they're doing like rehearsals.
Fast forward to the white hats in Syria, right, where here's action, they pull the guy out of the rubble.
Yeah, lay down.
The same shit, bro. I mean, so that should tell you, along with the Conan O'Brien breakdowns from the Nancy Brown, or what gets passed around Facebook in this Operation Mockingbird media, and yet. People, the Nancy Browns, everybody, dude. Like I said,
they can't wait to see what Fallon has to say about it.
Right. So the one thing from that Rogan thing that I think is possible and a self-fulfilling prophecy is that no one's really out of this kid, even though there's been a witch hunt for him already, and he's not too hard to find. It's Kentucky, but and the schools come under scrutiny. But how long is it till they keep pushing, and then there's another incident like this, and then it really becomes a manhunt to kill some teenager who does some stupid shit? The outrage meter is getting that. It is there, dude, and like it feels like that V for Vendetta tipping point moment is coming.
You know what I kept thinking, and this is such a deep fucking cut. Do you remember that movie War Party with Matt Dillon, where they do the Indian reenactments, Native American reenactments every year at this little fucking podunk town where the American Indians, Native Americans get killed off by the settlers, and these teenagers who shoot American Indians, their heritage, to get all fucking pumped up, accidentally kill one of the reenactors, and now these kids are on the run from like the big law. And it turns out the big end of the movie is the kids, Kevin Dillon gets shot at the end, and like it was the big battle, and he, so it's a lot of like transposed of, we fucked the American Indians and all this sort of stuff, which movie was great. I loved that movie as a kid. I thought it was great. But this is going to be something along those lines, where I read those posts when we were posting this around, when this happened. We were, sending stuff back and forth. I was reading some of the comments, and it was such a blend of, let these fuckers come to my town, I'll show you what we do, right? And then it was like, let that old man get in my face,
dude.
Watch what he does.
You couldn't imagine sitting and dipping donuts the last 2 days for like the 4-hour morning rush, bro.
And then it would go like all totally like, oh, these fucking scumbags, oh, social media, these bastards. And then one dude would be like, this is the coming of a civil war. And you're like, oh shit, dude, relax, take it easy. Like, fuck, man. Everybody's having kind of blowing their, waving their dick around on Facebook. And this dude's like, this is the point where I'd get the rifle from my truck and I'd start shooting motherfuckers. It'd be the start of a war. And you're like, all right, man, take it easy. Like, it takes one person. It will take one guy to, again, and we pointed out that the fact that somebody posted this on Facebook, they were like, hey, there's a rally going on, let's go fuck with them. So they wound up going out and going to this. All it takes is one guy to knife one of these little smarmy bastards or fucking shoot somebody, and then all of a sudden everything goes to hell.
Yeah, man, that's the tipping point. That's just V for Vendetta, how it went down that way, and I think we're not too far away. But we're real close right now to having one of our most prominent guests, as we keep it real blue around here, is Dr. David Janda is joining us. We're excited to have you, sir. This is forewarning ahead of time. You're on with 4 pro wrestlers. It's going to be a different show than what you used to. We've been following your whole media tour kind of since before the new year. We're excited to have you on, and we welcome you to the Conspiracy Horsemen, and thank you for joining us today, sir.
Well, thanks for allowing me to come into your ring. Yeah, my roommate in college was a wrestler, and competed on the international stage. And I have a lot of respect for you guys. You guys,
Scott Levy.
Well, his name was Rich Salamone. He was actually a little guy. He was a 105-pounder, and he actually wrestled. He was the alternate at the Montreal Olympics, and then he was actually the alternate was supposed to go actually to the Russian Olympics when Carter banned our team from going.
Wow.
And, here's a guy who dedicated his whole life to the sport. And, as you know, it's a brutal sport in so many respects. And then his time came, and he was never able to compete in the Olympics. And then the Olympics following that, he got injured, and it was really sad, actually.
Well, I mean, tell you one thing. There's one thing that goes great with wrestling, and that's politics, whether it's behind the scenes or what have you, because it's a different lens that we have to look through everything as we create false realities for our audience to believe in for escapism. But we in backstage, it's as cutthroat, more as Washington, D.C., and the games that we see played there, we see played out all the time in every federation we go to, dealing with shady promoters to guys who try and stab each other in the back and will, be whistleblowers, as we call them, stooges. So we see things through a different lens. And I just want to let you know, on this show, you deal with a lot of guys in third-party media who are trying to be credible newsmen. That's not us, and that's not our niche audience. We have a very awake wrestling niche audience who are tied in everything on the internet, and they really know what's going on, and they are our best researchers, sending us stuff all the time. So I'm sure they're well tuned into what you've been talking about, because we've covered a lot of this, but it's great to have an expert on. I want to introduce you to my co-host. The bald-looking model up there is the Greek god Papadon.
How you doing? Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah,
Pleasure to meet you.
the vice principal is WWE and ECW legend Stevie Richards. And that is our giant, the Italian stallion himself, Big Sal Graziano, and I'm Ben Hameen, your local neighborhood terrorist. So.
And hang on one second, I want to just pump the brakes and really hammer home how unprofessional we are. Is that an arrow on your windowsill?
A Maasai warrior, actually.
That is awesome.
Yeah, my daughter spent some time in Kenya. She's a doc also, and she said, "Dad,
look at that.
We met a bunch of Maasai warriors, and I thought of you." And that's what she brought home for me.
That's awesome.
Just hold up that point up next to your hand. Now imagine that going into your back.
Oh, you wouldn't be around very much. You wouldn't be.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
That's actually how Stevie won his first title in WWE. He had to drive one of those into somebody's back. It was.
Yeah, I've been wrestling for a long time. Did your daughter pick up Obama's birth certificate when she was there?
Wow. Swinging hard.
I actually, funny you bring that up. I did say to her, I said, while you're there, you might want to ask where Obama's birthplace was. And she said, Dad, she goes, I'm just going to leave that for you to ask if you ever come over, so.
Well, I'm going to pass the conch shell. I've talked enough on the intro here, sir. All my guests, my co-host here, can take the reins. Whoever wants to start it off, go ahead, boys.
Well, let me just start off. Say, guys in the room, if you got something to ask the doc, by all means, give us some credible questions to ask him. We'll try to answer your questions.
And if you haven't brought up his website yet, you guys, it's Dave Janda, Dave obviously, JANDA.com. Mainly known as a broadcaster for his Operation Freedom work and doing, his third-party media bit. A retired shoot doctor, so if you have any orthopedic foot questions as well, I'm sure we can field those. If you're
except Tony Atlas,
mainly
no foot questions.
Actually, mainly shoulders.
Oh, so mainly shoulders.
Have a lot of shoulder problems. That's for sure. You guys know that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
I took care of a fair number of wrestlers in my career. Some of your listeners might be thinking, well, what the hell? What's an orthopedic surgeon, talking about politics for? And just a little background. I actually, it happened by accident. I was being an orthopedic surgeon, minding my own business. I was doing a bunch of research, in particular, in the sports medicine side, trying to prevent injuries, right? So not just taking care of folks after they were injured, as you guys know all about injuries being wrestlers, but trying to prevent them to begin with. And a lot of that interest actually started from, as I said, my roommate in college, because a lot of the injuries he was getting, they were preventable if you really came down to it and looked at it. But his conditioning and his training and things that they were doing, they were having him do it. It's like, wait, whoa. You have a finite limit on your body, and they're kind of pushing you a little differently. And I got involved in this research of focusing on prevention. Now, I have to say, the medical industrial complex was not very happy with me because they, I can give you a lot of diplomatic answers, but
you don't have to on this show, man. It's no holds barred.
So the bottom line is you don't make any money in prevention, right? Yeah. So the medical industrial complex came down on me pretty hard when I started working on this prevention stuff, because I said, hey, look, if we're really sincere about cutting healthcare costs and helping people, let's prevent them from coming to see docs and going to the hospitals and taking medications and all that. So I started working on this prevention research, and we started working on, in particular, softball and baseball injuries. And to make a long story short, we found a way to prevent 1.7 million people a year from getting injured and save $2 billion in healthcare costs every year. And we spent $1,000 once, right? So this got some media attention. Back then, this is back in the late 80s, the media was not as fake as they are now. The lamestream bought off fake media. There was some semblance of integrity there. And we got a fair amount of public recognition for our work. And it just so happened Reagan, it was the end of his presidency, saw some of our media stuff. And I'm in clinic one day seeing patients, and my assistant comes to me. She goes, Dave, you got a phone call you have to take. And I was like, come on, I was just on the phone with the emergency. Well, what the heck? I mean, what, and they're calling me back 5 seconds later? No, she goes, no, it's the White House. And I go, it's not the White House. What are you talking about? She said, it's the White House. Okay, fine. So I get on the phone and I figure, one of my buddies saw the article that was in one of the Washington papers, and he got somebody to call and act.
Yeah, good rib.
Hi, and President Reagan saw the work you're doing and wants to know if you're interested in working on prevention with the Surgeon General, C. Everett Koop, and focusing on healthcare cost containment through prevention. I'm like, wow, you're really good, and whoever put you up to this is doing a great job. Tell me who it is so I can tell him you did a great job. And she said, no, the president. I'm like, fine, I'll tell you what. Give me your phone number, I'll call you back. And so I call her, knowing full well it's not going to be the White House. Well, I called the number, and the switchboard operator at the White House answered. And I'm thinking, wow, she was really good. I mean, she had for everything. And I said, okay. So she gave me her name, and I said, I'd like to speak to Ms. So-and-so. And she goes, oh, wait, I'll connect you. I'm thinking, whoa, she actually knew somebody, and this same voice, this woman picked up the phone. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. She goes, oh, the president will love this. Well, I ended up going to Washington. I had no political experience. And I grew up on the south side, in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, and then the south side of Chicago. So, politics for me was, Mayor Daley and
sure,
all that stuff. So I go there, and sure enough, I ended up working with working on healthcare policy with C. Everett Koop and Jack Kemp, who's a former quarterback with the Buffalo Bills, who was a congressman at the time, but doing policy stuff for Reagan. And what's really frustrating, guys, is that back in 1988, and Dr. Koop, the Surgeon General, had all the contact with President Reagan. We'd formulate some ideas, and then he'd go. And there's a lot of the things that are being discussed today for healthcare reform, like health savings accounts that empower people rather than insurance companies, having insurance companies compete against each other rather than collude so they can sell across state lines, utilizing primary care physicians more, direct primary care, high risk pools for people so they don't have pre-existing conditions. All this stuff that's kind of being bantered around today was presented by Dr. Koop based on our group to President Reagan in '88, at the end of his presidency. And Dr. Koop prefaced it with Reagan and said, look, Mr. President, the insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies, and big medicine, the AMA, are going to hate this, okay? And here's Reagan's response. Oh, I don't care if it helps people, your guys just do what needs to be done. All right. So, which is very refreshing, but as you'll hear in just a second, very different from everything else I came in contact with. So the next thing, Reagan leaves, Bush 1 comes in. Koop, who's then still the Surgeon General, goes to H.W. Bush, and old man Bush says, well, you know how much money we get from the insurance industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and the AMA? We're not going to do this. And he shoved it to the back end, and he kind of distributed us around different things. They sent me to a position where I was still based in Michigan, but I would go down and work in Atlanta on the National Center for Injury Prevention and Control and all this kind. So then Bush leaves and Clinton comes in. Now, this is where I learned, guys, there's one political party in the country, okay? I call them the Republicrats, and they're owned and operated by the same criminal banking syndicate. And here's why I say that. Because when Clinton came in, I got contacted. And he said, we understand you shoot your mouth off a lot and you do this healthcare policy stuff. And talk to us about the ideas you guys had, with Koop. And so he said, well, here's what we came up with. Clinton's response. You know how much money we get from the insurance industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and the AMA? We can't do that. Same as old man Bush. Then Clinton leaves and Bush 2 comes in. And they didn't really reach out to us for a number of years, but then they were starting to get into this, well, we got to do something with healthcare. And we get contacted and present the same stuff. And what response do we get? You know how much money we get from the insurance industry? Same old thing. Well, then Obama comes in, forget that. I mean, he's owned and operated by the syndicate. They are. So the bottom line is that when I started my radio show, Operation Freedom, back in October of 2010, the first thing I said that got me in a lot of trouble was, as far as I'm concerned, what I witnessed in Washington over 30 years, at that point, 22 years, now 30, the day Ronald Reagan left office, based on my experience, our country forever changed because every person who's held that office has been owned and operated by the same criminal syndicate. Well, the phone's lit up. This is a conspiracy theory guy. What's he talking about? This is nuts. Now I have to say, those same people, because I'm based in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, right? I mean, there's you can't, people outside this window, you can't have a big enough government.
Well, the other part of that too is you have incredible credibility because of the doctor in front of your name, the time you put in, and obviously, working with that high level of people are gonna lose their mind if somebody actually speaks some truth to them from the inside of what you witnessed.
Yeah, and they don't like that.
No,
they don't like it because when I would be at the White House, whether it was when the Bushes were there, or one or two times when Clinton, and I'd look around, and it would be like, I'm the only guy without alligator shoes and alligator briefcase walking around this joint. Everybody else all looks the same. I mean, and they were all lobbyists, and they run the show.
Well, we just saw that this week, right, where the government shutdown. That story drops where they're all partying in Puerto Rico, meeting illegally outside of borders. And I was kind of pumped when those first days when Trump's signing everything. We've talked about this where the lobbyists are legit standing behind him. He goes, well, I guess you guys are out of a job, as he signs that, and they're chuckling. Well, all you've done is same as prohibition and create a black market for lobbying, which could be rat traps for taking payola if you can prove it. Now here we are during a government shutdown, and that thing is brazenly happening with 30 different lobbyists and people on camera. They just don't give a damn. And, the news cycle goes back to a 16-year-old in a MAGA hat, which doesn't make anything.
One of the guys in the chat room brought up a question. He wants to know the insurance companies, if this is a plausible thing, which one of them had the biggest influence? Was there one particular?
Yeah.
No, you know what? They're a cabal.
They're just one owns all, right?
They're all for one for all, right? So whether it's United Health Group or Humana or Cigna,
Merck, Pfizer,
Blue Cross Blue Shield, they all are. Look, and here's one of the fallacies, guys, that people have about Obamacare. I got in a hell of a lot of trouble when it came to Obamacare. Why? Because I shut my mouth off, right? So I was one of the people that Bob Dole brought in and said, and I got to give Bob Dole credit. He was actually a pretty funny guy in person. And he said, he brought a couple of us in. He goes, guys, you have this track record of just telling people what they need to know. And it's really a lot of times what they don't want to hear. Okay. He goes, I want you to look at Hillary Care. This is like 92. And I want you to look at Hillary Care. And I want you to tell me what's good about it and what's bad about it. Okay. All right. If it's good, good. If it's bad, bad. But just tell me, right? So we sat down, we worked on it for a while, and we said, okay, here's the little good, and here's the real bad, okay? And that's what they used to blow it out of the water. Well, so I had a track record of knowing how Hillary Care was written. So when Obama comes in office, and let's first give him credit, or the people around him credit, that they actually had something to propose. It was sinister as all get out, but it was still something to propose, as opposed to Bush II, who didn't propose a doggone thing, even though we were trying to feed him stuff to propose. No, because you don't want to upset the insurance industry, pharmaceutical industry, and the AMA. So I was told, I was given a heads up by some folks that I know in DC. Hey, look in the stimulus bill that's coming out, Dave. We got a feeling, based on who's walking in and out of the West Wing, that there's going to be something in there on healthcare. So the Congressional Budget Office downloads a thing about 2 o'clock in the morning. I get up and do this. My wife says, what are you doing? I go, I got a tip that there's going to be healthcare stuff in this thing. I want to see what the hell they're trying to pull. She goes, it's not going to be there. I go, based on who's telling me, I think it's going to be there. Well, if I got through about to page 400, and there was the exact same verbiage that was for Hillary Care that I saw in 1992, there it was in February of 2009, hidden in Obamacare. Obamacare was 2 parts. And the first part, everybody thinks it was 1 part, that healthcare bill. No. The first part was hidden in the stimulus bill. That, and Sarah Palin was not wrong. That's where all the rationing boards and the enforcement boards were, because it was the same stuff from Hillary Care and the same stuff from the British healthcare model. Okay. So I had all these contacts from my prevention stuff in the media, right? So I flowed this whole thing out, write it all. I sent it to all these media sources, right? I said, look, people need to know about this. And they came back to me and they said, we don't disagree with what you pointed out, Dave, but we can't report on this, okay? But let me tell you what happened. I gave a talk about the hazards of Obamacare, okay? And somebody in the crowd YouTubed it. Made a video and put it on YouTube. It went viral. It went like 2.9 million hits, okay? Well, who did that get the attention of? Oh, Obama and his gang, all right? So then I get called to speak in front of a congressional dinner in the Capitol building, okay? And this is in July of 2009. The stimulus bill passes in February 2009. The healthcare bill passed in March of 2010. So this is between the two. This is when Pelosi was Speaker. She was trying to jam Obamacare down the throat of the American public, jam it through before they left in July. This is around July 9th of 2009. So after the stimulus bill passed, before the healthcare bill. And they asked me to speak about prevention and then my take on Obamacare, right? So I do my prevention thing, and then I start talking about Obamacare, about how it's the most inhumane means of cutting healthcare costs. It's what I fought against. My contention is, if you really want to cut healthcare costs, prevent healthcare need, like we showed with our studies, rather than ration or manipulate healthcare need by rationing care, which is the most unethical and inhumane means to cutting costs, which is what Obamacare was all about. The heart, the soul, the core of Obamacare, no what anyone says, and by the way, it was written by the insurance companies, and don't let anybody tell you that the insurance companies took it in the shorts. But with Obamacare, just look at their stock prices in February 2009 when the stimulus bill passed, and look at their stock prices now. They're up about 800%, let alone if you look at what's happened to premiums and how deductibles have risen to squeeze even more money out of people's pockets. So I'm giving this talk, and at the end of the talk, Congressman stands up. And it was actually kind of scary to me because as I gave this talk, I had the PowerPoint behind me that I made of what was in Obamacare. And there were dozens and dozens of congressmen in the room and then their staff people. And as I'm giving this talk, they're kind of all looking around going, shit, we passed this thing? This was in there? Right? Now there were a couple people there that were like, yeah, okay. Like the current senator from Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, was in the room, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this was there. This was there." So she got it, and there were a couple others got it. The rest of them, guys, they were like, "Really? Oh, okay." So we get done with this part, and a congressman stands up at the end, and he goes, "Dr. Jane, I have a question for you." He goes, "I'm going to go on the Sunday morning talk shows, and they're going to ask me about healthcare reform and Obamacare. If I have to give it one word." They say, "What's the one word to describe it?" What do I say? All right. So my mom, who was a history teacher, I'm thinking, okay, let's think about some options here. What would she say? And then it flashed in my mind. Because I started first thinking some medical terms. Oh, it's malignant. Oh, it's not benign. Oh, it's catastrophic. And then my mom and I look at the congressman. I go, "Congressman, if you have one word to describe it, the word is fascist." Okay, so guys, that got out of the room, okay? So it won't surprise you. Very soon after that, I go to my mailbox outside. I pick up my mail, and what am I looking at? I am looking at an audit notice from the IRS.
There you go.
Weaponized.
You ready? Wait till you hear what happens here. So now I got an audit notice. I'm like, what the heck? And my wife comes home and she goes, I go, "Look what we got." She goes, "I know what this is about. I know what this." I go, "You better know you know what it's about." So call my accountants, and our accountants going, because, guys, we have no offshore investments. We're boring people. We invest in our kids' education, okay? I mean, we are, plus we pay them at the time, we've been paying them hell of a lot of money.
I got to call time out as a worker here. Dave, I'm sure your wife's a lovely lady, but there's no way she just said, "I know what this is about." She said, "Dave, you couldn't keep your big goddamn mouth shut, Dave. And now look at you. Now you're getting audited. I tried to warn you, and you wouldn't listen to me. And now look." Am I close on that, Dave?
That conversation didn't happen that night. That had happened like every night before that for like right? So it just wasn't a one. Actually, I think the one thing she added to that was, "I told you."
Yeah. Oh, of course. I got driving.
That conversation was a 7-part miniseries.
Yeah. Right. If this thing was part of our house, this would have been.
Yeah, you got it.
Right? Oh man!
As soon as he said that, I looked over to Stevie to watch him go squirming, going, "Oh, I know what he's talking about."
Yeah. We all could feel the work in that, couldn't we? We were like, okay, yeah, he tried to put her over. No, hold on here, bro. You didn't get off that easy.
Yeah, everybody thinks this is all. People think that this doesn't happen. It happens. Here's what happens. I said to our accountants, I go, "Look, when you go in there, I want you to ask these people a question." All right. They go, "What's that?" I go, "Ask them why we're being audited." They go, "What do you think they're going to say?" I go, "I think they're arrogant enough, and they want to send me a message. They're going to say it has something to do with, my radio show, my opposition to Obamacare." They go, "They're not going to say that." I go, "Watch." Okay. So they go in, they have this meeting. I'm in clinic. I get this call. "Dave, we just got out of the meeting with the IRS auditors. Sit down." Okay. They go, "We asked your question." I go, "Yeah." And they go, "We can't believe it." I go, "What happened?" They go, they look at us and they go, "It starts with his radio show and it goes from there." And the message delivered to my accountants were, get off the radio and shut the heck up about Obamacare, and this goes away. Well, I think you know me well enough already. I didn't shut the radio show down, still going today, and I didn't shut the hell up about Obamacare. That audit, guys, lasted 9 months. Wow. Now, they got zero unreported income because that's what they were looking for. Mm-hmm. But let me give you an example of what they did. I, at the time, gave a fair number of talks around the country on healthcare policy, and I refused to get paid. Okay, and the reason was because I felt that it was my duty to the country to inform as many people as possible, and I don't want to get paid for that. So the IRS goes to our accounts, hey, Janet took these deductions for travel and speaking things, but he didn't report any income. What's he hiding? And our accountant said, he doesn't get paid because he doesn't think he should get paid. And no. And if he's gonna spend his own money for airfare and for hotel and there's a deductible, there's a business deductions, they're clear, they're straight. And the IRS said they are, but he's never gotten paid. No, check with the organization. So they did. And they come back and they go, you didn't get paid. Right, that's what we told you. They go, well, before we can approve these deductions, we need some proof. And the accountants go, what proof do you need? You've already talked to these people that he spoke and he didn't get paid. You go, no, we actually need written proof that he actually spoke. You go, what do you need? Well, we want programs from every place he spoke over the 3-year time period.
That's ridiculous.
I save them, guys. I save them. So what we did is make copies and we gave them to him. And this is what they don't count on. You're fighting back, right? So our accountants give it to him and they go, oh, he has these. Yeah, let's move on. Oh, no. Just because his name's on the program doesn't mean he actually spoke. We want a letter from each of these organizations that he actually spoke. It's going to get worse. So here's what I do, guys. I save thank you emails. So we redacted the names and the email addresses, but it documented where, when, what I spoke on, that kind of thing. And we gave them to him. Oh, he has those. Yeah, he has those. Okay, let's move on. No, we need one more thing. What's that? We want a list, I kid you not now, we want a list of every person who was in the audience before we will approve these deductions.
Jesus Christ.
And our accountant said, first of all, this is unconstitutional. This is harassment. Yeah. This is harassment. This is absolutely over the top. And in addition, if he had those lists, and he does, if he did, he would never turn them over to you. Why in the world do you need this? And their answer was, well, if there was any federal official in the crowd, it could be construed that he was lobbying for legislation, and lobbying expenses are not deductible. So this is the kind of stuff, when you stand up to these toads, this is the kind of harassment you get when you just tell the truth. Okay. And everybody thinks that this is all made up, oh, this doesn't happen to people. Oh, you have to be guilty of something to get. No.
It's no different than the mob sending somebody in to break things in someone's shop for not paying money or not paying the VIG on a loan or something like that.
It's all Gestapo tactics. Go ahead, Sam.
I want to laugh. The funny part of this now, Doc here. Doc, at any point have you felt like you were in danger for being a doctor or knowing these things? Like you see somebody hanging around you, somebody maybe called you, told you knock it off, pump the brakes, get out of this, don't do this.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're a doctor, you're a retired doctor, and you're a radio personality. You don't go around. You're not an assassin. You don't go around, beating people up, shaking them up. They're former CIA, John Kirikow. Mm-hmm. They did the same thing to him. Okay. And nobody went after him. Nobody tried to kill him. Nobody did any of this stuff that you'd see in the movies, like Wesley Snipes and all this other crap. They froze up his assets. They audited him. They had him lose his job. They had his wife lose her job. They came at him completely on the IRS front and just sank the whole. They froze all of his cards, credit cards. They froze everything, and this guy couldn't do anything. But he didn't give up. They put him in jail, and he kept going. Just like it's literally the same exact thing Doc did. He just turned around and was just like, "Go fuck yourself. I'm not stopping."
Right, and here's the reason, guys. You mentioned I'm retired. I retired January 1st, 2017. I let my partners know in 2014, January 1st, 2017, I'm done. And here's why. And I look old, and I am old, but I probably could have gone another 5-6 years operating. But I stopped, and here's why. Because I knew the legislation. And I knew on January 1st, 2017, that's when the enforcement boards were going to come in. That's when all the punitive penalties were going to kick in. And I knew I was going to get targeted, and my patients were going to get targeted. And that's why I said I'm done January 1st, 2017.
Well, I mean, it's noble to have to. It's sad and noble because people are losing out probably on so much experience that you bring to the table that way. But to stand by your convictions in your profession, it's just something you have.
Well, here's the thing, guys. I practiced medicine for 32 years before I retired. Okay, I never lied to a patient. January 1st, 2017, with the protocols kicking in through Obamacare, and you essentially are forced into a situation where you're not, you're being forced into a situation where you're having to actually shade it toward the government rather than shade it toward the patient. And here's an example. Electronic medical records, they sound great, right? But in Obamacare, starting in January 2017, we used to keep our own paper records, okay? We never had a problem. Our practice was around for 40-some years, 15 years before I even got there. We never had a problem with confidentiality, and we had paper records. And the records are key to maintain someone's privacy. January 1st, 2017, electronic medical records were mandated, and when you send a copy to the insurance company, but another copy goes to the government. I wasn't going to play in that sandbox. Now, fortunately, I was old enough where I could say, this is BS. I'm not doing this. But the younger people who have younger families, who have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, and understand something. There's a reason why medical school is so damn expensive. It's to put you in debt so you become an indentured servant, so that you're stuck in their matrix, so you can't get out.
That's with any college nowadays.
Yeah.
Right.
Any reputable college.
Right.
Yeah.
So Doc, you're saying you wouldn't have wanted the convenience of having a chip in somebody's hand with all their medical records ready to download? Because there's people on this panel who might enjoy that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that's actually a great segue, Doctor, to talk about the hammer. And these kinds of things with the medical records and also information and supposedly protecting our privacy, which, those who know the difference and know what's true. But talk a little bit about the hammer and how I guess these medical records can also be used against the American citizens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, anything government has. The first lesson I learned in Washington was leverage. Okay? It's all about leverage. Okay? Who has what on who? Okay? And the reason why the Clintons are so powerful and the Bushes are so powerful is because they got all the control files. Okay? And that's what runs the world in Washington. Right?
Oh yeah.
So when you mention the hammer, people are saying, "Well, wait a minute, what hammer? Is that like a, like hammer lock? What the hell's what are we talking about here?"
Nice.
Doc, look at Doc getting his shit in. Doc's like, watch me get my shit in real quick.
Yeah,
here.
that doesn't draw any money down.
But it's kind of like, so the hammer, and the first I heard about it, was on my show on March 19th, 2017. I'm interviewing a friend of mine, General Tom McInerney, that I'd known for an extended period of time. And I have over time, through my experience in Washington, I get to meet all these guys in the Pentagon, intelligence agency, all this kind of stuff. And you learn that there's a lot of stuff going on behind the curtain. And some of these folks that I met over time would come on my show on a regular basis. And some of them stay in the back and they still provide me information. But some of them are still very active. And I can't let it out who they are because their lives are in jeopardy.
Sure.
If I say, they give me information to put out, but I got to, you got to be very careful. But General McInerney was on, and he said, and this is the first I had heard about it, but there had been some information on the hammer out there before that I've since come to realize. But General McInerney says, Dave, I was just provided some information to provide you on the show and our listening audience that Barack Obama utilized John Brennan, the director of the CIA, and James Clapper as director of national intelligence to hire a guy by the name of Dennis Montgomery to create a platform, a surveillance platform called the Hammer. And the Hammer was used to illegally surveil huge numbers of people, millions of people, but in particular target people like Trump, like Flynn, like Team Trump, like Supreme Court justices such as Roberts, such as the head of the FISA court, Reggie Walton. And they hired this guy named Dennis Montgomery to monitor emails, phone calls, internet activity, text messaging, financial transactions. And in fact, he has 47 hard drives of this information. And a shout out to, Tracy Beans has done some work on this, but in particular, there's a website that I was just actually made aware of today about called, Jed Clampett, Beverly Hillbilly, Jed Clampett. But the person who runs that website got some information from Sheriff Joe's office, some recordings that talked about the hammer. And this person put it on his website, on Jed Clampett, back in November of, I believe, 2015. Now, my conversation with McInerney happened in March 19th of 2017, but that's the first time it had been discussed on a radio broadcast or on a television broadcast, the one with McInerney. And so here's the deal, guys, is that Dennis Montgomery realized, what I'm doing here is illegal. And he got an attorney, Larry Klayman, who I've had on my show a number of times, who's a guy representing Corsi now, and he's tougher than nails, is Klayman. And he hired Klayman, and Klayman took Montgomery to the FBI and demanded an under oath deposition. And Montgomery brings his 47 hard drives, unloads on these guys, and these guys provide that information to Comey, who was the FBI director. Subsequent to Comey finding out about this, he testifies in front of Congress, and he's asked, "Are you aware of any program that has been used to surveil the American public illegally?" And his answer was, "No." Okay, right then and there,
it's perjury.
Perjury, jail time, right then and there. But the FBI covered all this up. Well, now, so let's fast forward to now. Mary Fanning did this great article, and she actually uncovered this and passed it on to me. Remember, we just had the 19,000 emails that were missing between Strzok and Page, those two dweebs at the FBI?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Well, who found them? The Inspector General of the Department of Justice, Horowitz. He found them, right? And he goes, "Okay, I got them. Here they are." Well, Mary Fanning contacts me, and she goes, "Hey," she goes, "the same night you interviewed General McInerney talking about the hammer, there are text messages between Strzok and Page about your interview, and that they gotta put a blanket over this." So the illegality of what these people do is there are no bounds to it. Mm-hmm. There are none. And someone I've had on my show a couple of times, Bill Binney, who's a huge NSA whistleblower. Bill started talking about that. He left the NSA because he developed a lot of these. He left the NSA right after September 11, 2001. And it just so happens when he left, he started talking about this. And the then FBI director, Mueller, sent a team into his house as he was getting out of the shower, kicked his door down, and had guns to his head. Mm-hmm.
Did they give themselves a get-out-of-jail-free card when he signed in the NDAA at the 11th hour on New Year's Eve after he said, I remember on the 21st, like people were up in arms in December right before Christmas about it. "Oh, I'd never pass it. We'd have to really look at this." And then New Year's Eve, 9 days later, sign it through at 11:50, whatever. And it just seems like all that going down. And then we get also the Operation Mockingbird conditioning, where we see these programs in play in shows like Homeland, where they show them in an underground facility with a whole NSA team doing exactly what this Hammer program outlines.
Well, let me tell you something about Operation Mockingbird. So let's go back 1988. I'm at one of my first meetings at the White House, right? And we're doing some domestic policy stuff. And I go back to the hotel that night, and I turn on the news, and I think Rather was on CBS, and he starts talking about something we talked about at this meeting. Okay, guys, it's 180 degrees different. Okay, I mean, if you took exactly what we talked about and flipped it on its head, that's what he was reporting actually was the case. Okay, it was 180 degrees different. I thought, wow, Rather really got it wrong. So I turned it to NBC, and it was like Brokaw talking about, it's the same thing. Okay, I mean, like the same script.
Yeah.
And I go to ABC, and it was, I don't know, Jennings or somebody, and it's the same thing. So the next day, I go back for the second day of the meetings back to the White House, and go at the beginning of the meeting, I go, can I make a point here about something? And they go, yeah, what's up? I go, so I went back to the hotel last night, and I was watching the network news, CBS, NBC, ABC, and they talked about something we talked about here, and we need to get the communications people in the room here today, because what they passed on to the media was completely opposite of what is being done. Okay? So we need to get, guys, they all started laughing at me. Okay? They all started laughing at me. And they go, newbie. They did exactly what they were told to do. Okay? You got it?
Yeah.
And right then and there, guys, and this is as far back as 88, anything I would ever see on what we now call the bought-off lamestream fake media, if you flip it on its head, you're probably closer to the truth than what they're talking about.
Sure, it's easier to identify the lie as a deconstructionist at this point. Go ahead, Stevie.
The most disturbing thing, and I think around everything you're talking about or we'll talk about tonight, Doctor, is the fact that the American people are either ignoring it and or laughing it off, like the Easter Bunny. There's a famous YouTube video, it's shared all over Facebook as well, where they piece together this script through national and local news, the same exact script. And I look at the Facebook or YouTube comments on this video, and they are just laughing about it and saying, oh, that's crazy and this and that. One out of like maybe 50 or 100 comments is just like, this is terrifying. Like they're lying to us. Like somebody wakes up, 1 out of 100 if we're lucky. That's probably the most egregious thing, that people are just looking at this and just not even caring. And like you said, I think it's more so the indentured slavery and servitude of the financial slavery system. People are just too busy trying to make ends meet to worry about this.
Yeah, they're too busy taxing everybody, so they have to work 2 or 3 jobs, right? And they're too busy raising their Obamacare premiums, so they have to work 3 or 4 jobs, so they don't realize what the heck's going on. And then when they do turn on the tube, it's purely propaganda, right? And let's hope we can get everybody watching Dancing with the Stars, right? So that they don't really start to focus on people trying to tell the truth. I mean, look, guys, what you guys do,
we need those numbers on SmackDown, not Dancing with the Stars. We need those ratings over here, damn it.
Yeah, right. But the point, look, what you guys do and what I try to do, I think is easier today than it was 10 years ago, because I think more people are awake today.
I agree.
And the single best barometer I can give you is the fact that Trump was elected. You know what? People realized something was wrong. They might not weren't sure quite what, but they knew something was wrong. And that's why I believe he was elected. And I believe if it wasn't for the alternative media forcibly opening people's eyes 24/7 to what's going on, I don't think his election would have occurred.
Doc, go ahead, GGP, get your stuff.
No, I was gonna say you're 100% correct. I had a discussion today on social media with some people regarding the whole scenario with the kid with the MAGA hat, and basically what it came down to is because he was wearing that hat. And the media just wants us divided because of the house divided can't stand. And while we are fighting for the crumbs through this division, the banksters, the ones who are running this country and running the world, are basically running off with the pie. And unfortunately, a lot of people who still think they're awake are not truly awake. You said it best. This scenario with the hammer came to fruition. No one blinked an eye. Vault 7 came out. No one blinked an eye. WikiLeaks dropped all these emails. No one blinks an eye. People are being labeled as truth seekers when they're trying to question the narrative. So basically what is being said subliminally is finding the truth is a bad thing. We are blatantly lying to the public, and because you're questioning it, you're wearing a tinfoil hat on your head, and you should be in the corner and shut your mouth and just obey. And through those emails that came out, a number of things came out. Obviously, the fact that Trump was being spied on, Pizzagate or Pedogate, whether you believe it or not. I mean, the four of us believe that it is true.
And count me in that. 5.
Okay, the 5 of us. I mean, we're all smart gentlemen here, not only good looking.
I love GGP. I love you. I love you right here, GGP.
I just have an arrow I can stab people with.
Because I was just gonna.
That soon.
Yeah, we will. You're in. And Doc, if you need a cast of carnies to back you up at some event, we're ready. We're right there. No one's gonna step to us. You can say whatever crazy shit you want to. No one's gonna step on stage if we're there with you. But GGP,
that would be awesome.
Hell yeah, GGP. Well, yeah, I love you, man, because
absolutely well taken and absolutely on target. And I'll give you one. Back in '88, when I first got there, I was brought aside, and all the new people, and this is under Reagan, and it was the boss wants everybody on the same page of the playbook. Okay. And here's what I was told: the right-left axis is theater. It's bullshit. It's meant to have people, just as you said, at each other's throats. To have people at each other's throats to divide and conquer, because they didn't say deep state, they didn't say globalist syndicate, but that's what they were talking about. They said there's a group of powerful individuals that use the right-left axis to divide, and in the meantime, they're working the up-down axis, up being freedom and down being oppression. And the president wants you to focus on freedom. Anyone that's trying to strip people of their freedoms, that's your target. That's why, actually, guys, I named my show Operation Freedom. Yeah, Operation Doc, but freedom, because that was the big lesson I took away from Reagan. Work the up-down axis, up being freedom, down being oppression. You got to stop those people that are trying to oppress others. And that was back in '88. And the only thing I disagree with Trump about, well, there's a couple of things, but one thing, when he talks about the swamp, you know what? It's not a freaking swamp. It's a septic tank.
Nice.
And it's and it's overflowing with a bunch of crap.
Now, do you feel Trump is part of the team, or do you think he's actually going to make a difference? Do you think he's been, what's the right word?
Corrupted, the whole...
compromised. Do you think he's been compromised?
So here's my
Or is he a plant?
The globalist syndicate, the syndicate that has been so evil and so sinister, and middle-level puppets of that syndicate are the Obamas, the Clintons, the Bushes, the Romneys, the Ryans, the McCains, the McConnells, the Pelosi's, you name it, okay? The axis that is sinister is the Rothschild-Rockefeller axis.
Bohemian
right?
Grove Bilderberg groups, right?
Right. That whole crew.
The Skull and Bones.
Now, there are different silos, I believe, of globalists. And I believe Trump is not in the Rothschild-Rockefeller axis. I believe there's a civil war amongst the globalists.
Definitely.
And one faction, which is the sovereignty silo, like, look, let's just cut all the war crap. Let's cut all the imbalanced trade stuff. Let's just let everybody fend for themselves. That globalist silo, I think, is who Trump is associated with. Okay.
Who else is in that silo that we may know or may not know, or allegedly is in that silo?
Right now, it's gonna sound crazy.
Oh,
there's no. You're on the
Doc,
right show.
I was about to trigger you anyway after this, Doc. So go ahead, get crazy with it.
I'll tell you. I think a lot of the current leadership of our military is in that silo, and I also believe there are some international leaders that are in that silo. the Merkels and the Macrons. You know, Macron's a former Rothschild banker. Boop. He's over there.
Is Merkel?
He's on the wrong side. Merkel, wrong side.
About Hitler family, is that? Do you think the bloodline relates there as well? We've seen that a fair amount recently with Merkel being the offspring of Hitler, possibly. I mean, that's
so you know, there is this rumor that she is related to him.
Same as Bush one's wife being Aleister Crowley offspring, like very similar to that time period.
So I've heard that, and frankly, you kind of look at Merkel and you go, you know,
even with a mustache and everything.
But here's the deal. Here's the deal. I don't know none of my contacts. I've seen that on the internet. None of my contacts have ever said, look, Merkel, she's Hitler's kid. Okay. Right. Never. That's never, that is, they have said she is part of this Rothschild Rockefeller axis. So I think Trump's in that axis. I think a number of business leaders are in that kind of make America greater. Let's preserve the sovereignty, as opposed to what the Rothschilds, Rockefellers love to do is blow apart the sovereignty. Just look at Europe, right? But one of the other, so it's kind of a nationalist silo. So when you have people identified as being nationalists, leader of another country that's seen as a nationalist is Putin.
Well, we got him with the Saudis with the globe too, where they did that whole thing. Instead of going there and holding the Saudis' feet to the fire, he cuts this promo in front of all of them, in front of the world, where he kowtows and knuckles up with them. Like, it pretty much told the tale to the workers in the room, which is us, of like, okay, this is who's really pulling the strings here. And to do that whole global thing instead, right after the 28 pages came out, and there was nobody got their feet held to the fire for that over there.
So remember though, so here's my understanding of that. Yeah, I agree with you on this, but the 28 pages were related to the former regime, right? Which is drastically different. And I'm not calling this guy a great guy than bin Salman, right?
Yeah, but royal family's royal family, though. You know.
And remember, bin Salman was the guy who hung those guys up by their toes at the Ritz, the guys who used to run the Saudi Arabia, who were part of that 28-page deal, bin Talal and all those dudes. So I don't have a good handle on Saudi Arabia, other than obviously there's this internal civil war as well going on between bin Salman group and the former leadership.
Well, I think they're in that silo because of obviously military-industrial complex, mega spending. So they're all going to be in that crew together, regardless of whether they like each other or not. It's big money.
And some of these dudes, I think, might put their toe in that water and also put it in this water, right? So they kind of hop around. I don't think Trump does the hopping around bit. I think he's more in the nationalist silo, if you will, of globalists.
Well, go ahead, Stevie.
No, I was going to ask a quick question about with Trump, especially the way he kind of presents himself in the media and on social media. I almost think that's sort of like what we call in wrestling a gimmick, a character in a way, where it's put out in a way so you don't, almost like Bruce Wayne and Batman, and just the loose analogy there, where he almost comes off like the buffoon, so people don't really take him seriously, or it's distraction from these people in that silo that are really doing the real work behind the scenes. And you're really looking at this goofball tweeting out stuff. Ben calls him Twitter thumbs. So this guy's doing all this stuff. Do you kind of see how that could probably maybe be the case?
Yes. Yeah. And don't take this the wrong way, guys, but I've said before to my listening group and to people around me, I said, Trump is a lot of WWE.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, WrestleMania.
Linda McMahon's running a small business. He's good friends with Vince McMahon. I mean, and you know what? They're brilliant business people, and so is Trump. And he utilizes social media as a diversion, just as you said, as a diversion for what he's really doing. Look at the left hand. Oh, look at the Twitter crowd. Look at the Twitter. And meanwhile, the right hand's picking your pocket.
Well, here, you said the nationalist. That's the new N word by the media. If you're called a nationalist, you're just as bad. I don't see the problem being a nationalist. You should put your country and your people in your country first before you go save someone else down the road. Because, let's face it, if that was a scenario where you're in a car accident and you can only save two people, either someone that you know or someone from your family or a complete stranger, who are you going to save first?
I completely agree with you.
But regardless of the fact,
to marginalize, and again, the bought-off lamestream fake media is part of the Rothschild-Rockefeller axis.
Agreed.
And that's why they point the finger at the nationalist side and say, hey, these guys are a bunch of racists. They're a bunch of supremacists. They're a bunch of... No, I agree with you. A nationalist is someone who puts the interests of their own country and the own people of their country first, and that doesn't mean they're declaring war on every other country. It means that you can work in conjunction with other countries. It's just that you're going to put the interests of your country ahead of everyone else. And one of the things that drives me insane, guys, is the number of people in Washington that are dual citizens.
Oh yeah, with Israel and other countries, absolutely.
Right. Well, wait, why should anyone in our government be allowed to be a dual citizen?
You agree?
I don't know of any other governmental body in the world that allows people to be in their government that are dual citizens.
Well, it just speaks on how two-faced they are in their duality.
Good point.
But the case in point, I mean, this is the same people that we're talking about as far as the government goes that blatantly and subliminally admit through this media that is controlled with their agenda that there is a deep state. There is a cabal. There is a shadow government, whatever you want to call them. And there's also the same government that basically came out and said, you know what, Hillary Clinton was breaking servers with hammers, and it's not a theory. We brought it to you face on, and no one's blinked an eye or done anything. Same government where you have Comey come out and say a 15-minute promo what she did wrong, and in the closing seconds or the third act of the promo, he says, well, she didn't do it intentionally or with ill malice or anything of that nature, so we're not going to convict her because obviously she has leverage on him too. So this is all hogwash. It's all song and dance. At the end of the day, we're being screwed by the left and by the right.
Exactly.
And we're not winning. But I want to ask you a couple of things. Do you think, since it's a different silo that Trump's in, do you think we will see the indictment of Hillary Clinton, one? Do you think we're going to see the abolishment of the IRS and the end of the Federal Reserve during his tenure?
So I do believe Hillary, I do believe Bill, and I do believe Obama, Brennan. I think Brennan's first. Clapper, I think they're going to get indicted. I believe that, based on what I've heard.
Is that going to be off of the Anthony Weiner laptop stuff with as relates to Pedogate and Haiti, or is it going to go back to Benghazi? Is it going to be the Clinton kill list?
Well, we can talk about Benghazi. I just had Charles Woods, Ty Woods, one of the victims.
That was a great interview, so that was awesome.
Thanks. I just did this interview with him. It's on YouTube, and that there again, we got a lot of normalcy bias going there, right? 4 Americans died, and everybody's like, well, wow, that's too bad. But here's the interesting thing: you look at my video that I did with Charles, and you look at the comments. There's not a lot of normalcy bias there. I mean, people are mad; they're pissed. So,
well, you can tell by their houses are down too when they're selling $10.
So many people believe he won't be elected in 2020, reelected in 2020. I believe he will be.
I agree.
Me too.
And I don't think Pence will be his vice president.
Rand Paul.
What?
I think Rand Paul will be his vice president.
That'd be a great pick. And you know who my pick is for vice president?
Who?
Mike Flynn. Because Mike Flynn is an innocent man who took it for the team, guys. I really believe that. I don't think he lied to the FBI. And I think that whole story, I believe, has not played out yet. But I believe Trump's going to run in 2020, and I really believe he's going to win in 2020 because I think a lot of this stuff is going to hit. And I think the sequence of events, and I've said this, and this is what my contacts have said, and in a way, we've been wrong, in a sense that what I was told was that after the primaries, September, Trump would come out and push for declassification. And actually he did. On September 17th, he came out and he said, I want the FISA documents declassified for Carter Page. I want the text messages between McCabe and Comey declassified, and Strzok and Page. And I want Bruce Orr's 302 forms that the FBI fills out when they interview the number 4 guy in the Justice Department. I want that declassified. And that's what he said September 17th. And I was told he was going to do that, and he did. And then all of a sudden, Sessions started slow walking it, which is why I think Sessions got, thanks very much, you're done. And then it got handed over to the Department of Justice Inspector General. And I had been told the first thing that happens is the declassification hits. And when that declassification hits, it's going to be so big. The next phase that's going to roll out are some, not all of these indictments that are supposedly sealed. Some of the indictments are going to start to be unsealed. Certain players, and I was told one of the top players that was going to go down first was Brennan, which I still think his head's on the block, and this is why he's so hysterical and acting so hysterical on social media. And then after declassification and after the indictments, many of these indictments are going to focus on treason and sedition, and that's where the military tribunals kick in. And if you listen to that in the Kavanaugh hearing, when Lindsey Graham spends a fair amount of his time hitting the military tribunal issue, and let me tell you something, it was very soon after that the folks I know in Washington started to talk, hey, you know what? They're kicking up some dirt about some women in Kavanaugh's background. And it wasn't until Lindsey Graham hit Kavanaugh on, our military tribunals, have they been utilized in the past? Are they constitutional? Yes. Can they be utilized again? Yes. And this is what got the whole ball rolling, why they all of a sudden, why we started to have this whole goat rodeo that occurred as it relates to the whole Kavanaugh hearing, the end of the first hearing, the second hearing. So I was told declassification, then some sealed indictments, and then you're going to see people's feet being held to the fire and an institution of the military tribunals. That hasn't happened. Trump did call for the declassification, but now everything got slowed down. And what I've been told is and there's one person calling the shots on the timing, President Trump.
Well, there's a thing, Doctor, too, that they may have actually had those tribunals. Rumor, conspiracy theory, call whatever you will, but there's a lot of people in certain circles that are saying McCain and Bush Sr., they did end up not only indicting them, but also, pretty much the process has finished. And, they put out that story that they both basically did the Thanos finger snap and just faded away as they looked over the lake. But there's a lot of people saying these guys were executed.
I realize that. And I've actually asked the folks I know and known for years if that's the case. And none of them have confirmed that, or none of them have denied it.
Well, I think it's more of a soft opening. I'm saying it's more of a trial run for the tribunals. They did it in secrecy with these two individuals so their legacies don't get tarnished, for the families, I guess. They threw them a bone. And then obviously, if it did go down and they executed him, it was more like a soft run, like a casino would do before they open up their doors with the main opening, just to see if it can be kept hush hush or if it can be done. At least that's one point of view from what I've been, I've seen or heard.
Well, Doctor, we look at it from, like I said, the locker room perspective, and here you got this guy on his deathbed, and he's on his way out. And 3 months later, they're rolling him out at the Super Bowl to flip the coin in some, which I'm sure is Masonic or Skull and Bones in some reason that they wanted him out there. And then obviously he passes on. We hear this, but with McCain, we see his handlers on the morning talk shows of, he was just overlooking the river and he let out one last breath and like old Yeller he went. It's just like
Yeller got.
yeah. Well, that's probably what happened, right? For real, but they didn't say that.
Look at the flowers, Johnny. Look at the flowers.
It's when we see those stories, whether it's the sheriff in Las Vegas with the FBI handlers behind him with their hands up his ass, and he's telling some story that he's got to redact 3 days later. You're not going to work a worker in our business, and you've been in your locker room. What are the game moves that when guys have heat on them like that who are going to be indicted? In our world, you're either going to stay small and hope the heat passes on to somebody else and is going to jump you, or you're going to try and pass the heat on to somebody else by being a stooge and throw them under the bus, or it's just going to be mob style and you're going to get it in the back of the head when you least expect it. And I'm just wondering what you're saying.
I think that these guys play in a big circle of criminals, but they're pretty lousy criminals, right?
They think they're over.
My career, I had an opportunity to take care of gang leaders, folks in the mafia, and I consider them kind of professional criminals, if you will. These guys in Washington, they might think they're big stuff, but they're really snowflakes.
Yeah.
And in a minute and in a heartbeat, to save their own hide, they'll flip. And I think that this is what I think we can anticipate happening, and I think has been happening. A number of these folks.
Is it Anthony Weiner? That's the one we're really like that.
Yeah,
we've heard about that laptop.
And I think he's one that I'm sure has. I don't think you could probably potentially shut him up.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of them, and I think that we're going to see the ramifications of these people flipping, and I believe that Trump is not going to stop with the middle level puppets. He's not going to stop with the Clintons or the Obamas. I actually think the way they're going to take the Clintons down is through the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's going to be kind of an Al Capone type of technique.
Yeah.
Right. They got him on tax evasion, right? I mean, I grew up in Chicago. My dad lived down the street from Al Capone, right? He used to think, when he was a little kid, and they all the kids in the neighborhood thought Al Capone was the greatest guy on the face of the earth because he used to give them candy, he used to have block parties, and they used to, but the Clintons are not like Al Capone in a sense that they are petty anti-criminals that were playing in a big pond with a lot of big dough. And I think that what's going to be utilized to take the Clintons down, and we already saw it with the testimony on December 13th. That was devastating. I don't know if you guys saw it, but this Moynihan and Doyle, these two investigators, what they did to the Clintons was just devastating. And everybody for that hearing was focusing on Huber. What's Huber going to say? What's Huber going to say? And I believe that was diversion again, like we were speaking of earlier. I think they're all pointing to Huber, and Huber didn't show. And these guys just walked in and hit the Clintons over the head with a lead pipe. It was, I have some of the things that they were saying, and it's mind blowing.
Doctor, really quickly, thank God that these people, the Clintons and the Bushes and the people that are in all this stuff, don't understand modern media. They actually use such old, antiquated, out-of-date ways of operating, and that's the only thing that saved us from them getting any further or taking control.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and their arrogance. You see, there's been no rule of law for the globalists for decades, and they've gotten away with murder. And figuratively and literally. Yeah. And they have never been held accountable to the rule of law like all of us are and all of the listeners are. There's two systems. And one of the first things the globalist syndicate did was blow apart the rule of law for the haves, the 1%ers. And the rest of us, they used the law to beat our heads in, like they did with the IRS, right? And to a number of us. While these middle-level puppets of the globalists that are doing their bidding for them got a pass. Well, let me tell you something. This is what this Moynihan and Doyle said. And they're sitting there, and they're when it comes to the Clinton Foundation, well, first of all, the Clinton Foundation illegally acted as a foreign agent. Oh, what, really? Yeah. They acted as a foreign agent, and they are not entitled to their 501c3 status. That the only reason why they got the 501c3 status, their nonprofit status for their foundation, was for the Clinton Library and the Clinton Global Initiative and all Haiti and AIDS, all this stuff they're involved with, they were never approved to do.
And they said he didn't cover his money the right way, right? Like they were pretty much blatant about it.
Oh, wait. Then they said that they did not comply with regulations, that they were involved with organizations and issues that were not approved by the IRS regulations. Then they go into the misuse of funds part. They did not use funds for charitable causes. They said they're not a charitable organization, but a closely held family partnership, direct quote, that was used to advance the agenda of the family members. And then they focused on their donors, and they said the donors, they're subject to taxes and penalties because they didn't do their due diligence in donating to the foundation, because all the deductions they took they weren't entitled to. And then they said that they were acting as foreign agents with European countries. They were in discussions with the foundation leadership and senior officials. And then they said, yeah, and by the way, their administration costs with the Clinton Foundation were 60% when the average foundation's at max 15%. And then these guys started coming down on them. And Republicans and Democrats alike, you want to see the Republicans. They were both coming down on these two guys that were laying it all out. You think the Republicans would have been like, gloves off, hey, go for it, boys. Oh, no. They started to fire. They go, well, just give us an example of how they were working with foreign countries. And this guy looks right, this Moynihan guy looks at him and goes, I'll tell you what. He goes, Mozambique and their relationship with the Clinton Foundation. Listen to this, guys. He said they acted like as a foreign agent, that they were facilitating programs with, brokering money transactions and brokering pharmaceuticals. What? And then they went on and they said, well, based on the facts, this is what they asked these guys. Do you believe there was possible cause of criminal wrongdoing with the foundation? And both of these guys look straight at the panel and go, absolutely, yes, significantly so. And then they say, do you believe there was criminal activity with the foundation? Yes. And they go, can you give us any example? And they go, well, how about the CFO that said that he knew where all the bodies were buried? Okay. And he went on to say, quote, Mr. Clinton mixed personal business with the Clinton Foundation, used donated funds for personal use. The funds were used as a piggy bank for senior leaders of the Clinton Foundation for personal expenses such as vacations.
Hookers.
Yeah, right.
Hookers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then they
$65,000 in hot dogs.
Well, and then they said, well, you didn't turn this over to anybody, right? And they go, oh, yeah, we did. We turned it over to the IRS. We turned it over to the FBI. And then they dropped this nuclear bomb that everybody on the panel went, what? And they said, this is what they said, that we know that there is an open, active criminal investigation of the Clinton Foundation by the FBI Little Rock field office. And they go, oh, well, maybe that's why Huber didn't show up, the prosecutor, because there's an ongoing criminal investigation and he can't be at a public hearing when they're, yeah, you think? And then these guys said, well, do you have any proof that there's this open criminal investigation? And both these guys looked and they said, yeah, we've been in touch with the FBI on numerous occasions. And in fact, in August, they said on August 8th of 2018, we were told to go to the Little Rock Airport, that there would be a jet flying in, and they gave us the tail number from the Department of Justice. And we were to follow the people that got off that jet and where they went. Well, they had sent pictures. They took pictures of this jet coming in, and they followed the people. And the people from the jet went into the Clinton Foundation, removed boxes and boxes of documents, went back to the plane, put it on the plane, and flew back to Washington.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then Hillary hit it with hammers afterwards. She was out there hitting the boxes with hammers. Doc, I just got to ask you, Doc, why don't you want Chelsea Clinton to have a $3 million wedding? Why do you want to rob her of her happiness, Doc? Why are you?
It's a little
Because I'm
grinchy
an
of
SOB.
you. It's a little grinchy of you.
Come on, Doc.
I know, I'm just an SOB. That's all. Right? I mean, this is so out of control. And then they said to these guys in conclusion, well, how much money do you think the foundation actually misused? This is what they said. It's from the documents we've uncovered, somewhere between $400 million and $2.5 billion were improperly used. Okay. No, there was no bought-off lamestream fake media coverage of that, of course, right? It was devastating. And this is where I think the Clintons go down. I think that these guys, mark my words, Moynihan and Doyle, remember those names. Those two guys have targeted the Clinton Foundation. And in targeting the Clinton Foundation, Bill, Hillary, Chelsea, all of them. They all.
So what's the over under these two guys are going to end up suicided?
Well, you know what? Based on a track record, you'd think it's pretty high.
Yeah.
But I also believe they have probably the most protection other than Donald Trump.
Well, when you said the leader knows where the body's buried, I go, you better know where his own grave is because he's going to be laying in it soon. Go ahead, GGP.
Well, I was going to say this. We found this out the other night. One of our listeners dropped this bombshell on us on Twitter that there's a massive case going on right now between the U.S. and Backpage.com, where $2.9 million was seized from Perkins Coie, which is the law firm that handles the Clintons, and it all has to deal with child sex trafficking. Here's another coinkydink, if you will, that goes along with the Pedogate, Pizzagate situation that came directly from the WikiLeaks dump of emails from Podesta and Clintons that were engulfed in code, but it wasn't code that was made up. It was code that was basically decoded by the FBI. I mean, you know it, we know it. So I don't understand how all these facts align, yet nothing's being done. It's ridiculous. It's actually like one of our friends who's a wrestler, Raven, goes, it's preposterous. The fact that these people get away with all this, and God forbid any of us did 1 ounce of evil,
right,
like these people have done, would be buried underneath the jail. It's ridiculous.
And that's why it's so frustrating for all of us and every one of our listeners. But see, this is what has, when Trump took office, I think he thought, okay, this is going to be really bad. I don't think he realized how bad it was, right? Because he had bad sheriffs, right? The FBI, the bad sheriffs. He had bad judges, right? And he had these bad players, but the bad players knew they were going to never come to justice because the judges were all bad and the sheriffs were all bad. And so if you look that, and when people say nothing's being done, I get that. But in the past 2 years, 28 of the highest officials in the Department of Justice and FBI have either been fired, resigned, or have been reassigned or under investigation. That has never happened in our country's history.
That's swamp drain, right? I mean, pretty much the definition of it.
So there is some things happening, not fast enough for any of us. But I do believe when it happens, I think it's going to be quick.
It seemed like there was a moment there, too, where there was some logs of Epstein Island flights with the underage girl, and there was pictures. Like, I agree with you that it's going to be on some, we can prove it on paper in court to get it to stick, Al Capone type stuff. But obviously the salacious stuff is what's going to make the headlines, right. But it is the hardest to prove at the end of the day. And guys,
some of that salacious stuff might never make it out.
Right.
Some of the really horrendous stuff that, look, as a surgeon, I just, you never cut part of a tumor out. You cut the whole doggone thing out.
Yeah.
Okay. But here, unfortunately, as opposed to here are the 25,000 things Hillary Clinton has done, and some of which are just horrendous, let's say, the horrendous part I don't think comes out. I think the bad enough to go to jail part comes out, but not the horrendous stuff.
The witch stuff when she was, in the governor's mansion where she was going and doing Wiccan, all that kind of stuff, whether it's tribal. That it seems everyone who gets involved in that Bohemian Grove, whatever sex cult stuff is going on around there, man. That's the corruption of whatever it is, some elementary school nudity embarrassment that manifests itself into 50 Shades of Grey to what's the Kubrick film?
The Eyes
Wide Shut. Like, and we're getting to see that, and it's just a normalization of it, where the rest of us are looking at like, wow, this is the real Stooge report right here, and then it comes out 20 years later. And now are they really going to say, well, 20 years has passed. Are they really going to come after us? How can we keep the fires lit to really do this second day Salem burning on these people, man? Because they got to go down in our lifetime. Otherwise, we're just harboring, and abetting.
Look at what they did for all the, the Simon Wiesenthal looking, all the Nazi hunters pulling those 90-year-old men to trial.
Right.
And having them.
Or putting them in NASA.
Like,
well, and then right. Yeah. So that's Operation Paperclip.
Yeah,
right?
Paperclip, sure.
Right, where the U.S. government under Allen Dulles, who essentially was the first CIA director, brought all these Nazis, and that's not conspiracy theory.
It's true.
It's fact.
Yeah.
It's fact.
And it's, for our benefit, so it's okay.
Did you guys like my Werner Braun Strowman tweet earlier today? Did anybody see that?
Yes, I saw that.
Thank you.
So what
He's a
is
wrestler.
going to happen? Doc, what do you think is going to happen with the Federal Reserve? Because I'm big. I'm very big. These guys can attest. I'm very big to the whole conspiracy of the Federal Reserve. Not even conspiracy. It's fact that they make money off of our country being in debt. And ever since 1913, it's just been downhill ever since with our currency. But regardless of the fact, do you think we're going to, by any chance, end the Fed or go on a gold reserve standard like we once had?
I think our best chances with Trump in there. I truly believe there's a reason why he's been pointing his finger at the Fed saying they're the problem, they're the problem, they're the problem, they're worse than China. You know, in my lifetime, Reagan took a bit of a poke at him. Kennedy took a poke at him,
and they both got shot.
Yeah, because he was talking about silver certificates, and
so did Lincoln.
And the best book on that, which you guys probably have all read, is The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. He's been a guest on my show. It's a phenomenal book, and it really lays out the creature that you talked about from 1913 being the Federal Reserve, and they're taking over our money supply. And I believe unless the Fed is eliminated, problems don't go away.
I agree with you 100% wholeheartedly.
Right? If I had my big can of wishes and my magic wand, the one I'd beat over the head, one of the first things I would beat on is that Federal Reserve, because you take away their money supply, right? You take away them being able to create money supply. You take away their power.
I thought you were going to say you wanted to wrestle Ric Flair at Starrcade, but no, that was Pop.
No, I'm not. No, he kicked my ass.
One quick question too, sir, about that. I've seen you touch on the actual Bush funeral with the envelopes that were being unveiled with everybody in attendance, almost everybody in attendance. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, and we can speculate a little bit? Because even though we talk about all this kind of facts and stuff, it's sometimes, I guess, fun in a weird way with all this down stuff to kind of speculate.
If folks don't think much is happening, they need to watch Jeb's reaction at the funeral. That was not the reaction of some guy who things are going really well for. Okay?
No.
So I was not. I was appointed to a position by old man Bush, the National Center for Injury Prevention and Control, being on their board of directors. And I was never a fan of old man Bush.
None of us was.
No.
Okay. And the reason is because I believe he was actually at the center and the heart of a lot of really bad stuff.
Iran Contra, running cocaine, killing JFK. I mean, and that's just that's the big ones on the top that you know about.
And also, I think a player in the human compromise program of individuals. Okay, so you can read that into human trafficking or whatever you want.
And mind control, CIA, the massive amounts of that as well.
Right. So I was actually frankly sick. I refused to watch the funeral thing. I mean, the whole it was almost like how they were carting his body around from Houston to Washington, and then Washington we're going to go back to Houston, and then we're going to go to the thing. And the day before the funeral, one of my friends who I've known for many years, who's has significant ties into the government, said, "Are you going to watch a Bush funeral now?" I go, "No, I couldn't stand the guy. Why? No. Why? This is already sickening watching him, how they're talking about what a great patriot he was, and I can't. That's just not. No. Well, you need to. Why do I need to? No. You really need to watch what happens, and you'll know it." I go, "What are you talking? Just watch." So I'm watching the thing, right? And a couple things I noticed. One is, they're all kind of yucking it up, right? The first thing I noticed is when Pence walked in, he was all chummy with Hillary. Oh, they were carrying on, and they were having. No, that's kind of okay. I mean, I don't like Pence. I'll put it on the line. I get a lot of heat for that. There's something about the guy that
he's an android from the future.
Yeah,
looks like Race
there's
Bannon from Johnny Quest.
Some about the guy, I get the same yips around him as I did a number of people in Washington who were really bad players. Okay, so I don't trust the guy. I'm not a fan. And so him talking and loving it up with Hillary, that just fed into my thing of his role with the globalists. And then he goes and he sits down, and next thing I know, Hillary opens this program thing, and something falls out. And I said, "Oh, okay." But then Jimmy Carter looks over at her, and he's kind of like, "Oh, heck, and he obviously didn't have one." He starts talking to Rosalind; she doesn't have one, and he seems all bummed out, And I didn't see anybody else get a note, right? It was just that, and I thought, okay. But then President Trump walked in, and this is what I noticed. When he walked in, Pence and his wife Karen Pence were sitting behind him. Neither the president or Melania said boo to the Pences. Didn't say hello, didn't shake their hands, and I'm thinking, all right, so maybe that's what I'm supposed to be watching out for, because obviously, they know I'm not a fan of Pence, and this is an indication, hey, things aren't good there, and the number twos can be getting the boot. So I'm watching this, and now we're getting through the funeral, and the coffin's going out. And during the program, because I was watching C-SPAN, they showed W writing some stuff down. And the other thing I noticed is that there were two Secret Service guys behind W, but there weren't any Secret Service guys immediately behind, Trump, Obama, Clinton, and Carter, which was kind of weird, right? I mean, why does W have two Secret Service guys behind him and the other guys don't have anybody? So now the casket's going out, and W shows something to Laura. Laura shows it to Jeb, and next thing you know, he looks like he's going to vomit. And I think, oh, that is what I was supposed to see.
My reaction to that was the same as when I got my WrestleMania 17 payoff. That was the exact look on my face. Like I was just like, oh God.
What you guys don't know is it was all copies of Keys to Bob Dole's hotel room orgy afterwards. That was the after party, and they were just all pissed off. They had to go. Like, damn, we gotta go.
So after this thing is over, I call my buddies and I say, hey, I watched it, and what'd you see? And then I said, well, I saw, Hillary had this thing fall out, and Jimmy Carter's all bummed out. He didn't have it. Well, she wasn't the only one, okay, who there was an envelope. And then it turned out that Michelle got one, and Karen Pence got one, and Jill Biden got one, and I said, so what? And they also told me there were some other people in the crowd that got them further back.
I was thinking, what if that's a best way to serve somebody with a subpoena? Like you're at a funeral, open the shit, and there it is.
So I said, so what was in that? And they go, it was a list of coming attractions.
Oh,
ooh. I said,
like,
oh,
that's awesome.
Oh, because it wasn't a subpoena or an indictment because it was too small.
Yeah,
right.
No,
and whatever it was, it got their attention real fast, right? So then I said, well, then what was going on with Jeb? And because his reaction was he was about to vomit, and they said, well, it was a culmination of W having flipped months before.
Wow.
I was just about to ask you that question. Do you think he flipped, and you just answered it?
I think it was actually the fetus in the jar that flipped.
As I understand it, people, conspiracy theory, fine. As I understand it, Pence was the Bush's insurance policy.
Now,
okay.
Can you explain that a little more? I'm not sure if I follow that.
Remember you mentioned the Super Bowl and they rolled George H.W. Bush out to flip the coin? So then he goes back to his box. Who was up in the box with H.W. Bush at the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Pence, I guess.
Yeah, he was there.
Pence.
Yeah.
Pence.
So he's the inside player then.
Tight with the Bushes. Real tight with the Bushes. And what the Bushes are all about. And if Trump would be removed from power, and Pence comes in, he was their insurance policy. And what I understand was written, W wrote that he informed Laura, who then informed Jeb, was that Pence is done.
So there goes their foothold.
Said Jeb was staring at the Secret Service agent. He actually wasn't staring at the Secret Service agent behind W, because who was directly across was Pence. That's who he was looking at. Like, what the heck happened? What, because that was his future. Pence was there to protect the Bush family.
So let me ask you this, because there's rumors rambling that when some of this child trafficking went on, when Pence was governor or something, was he
Indiana?
What state was Indiana?
Mm-hmm. Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that Indiana was like almost like a hub, or he had some kind of he knew about what was going on with the child trafficking and did nothing about it. And on top of that, my question is then, one, why would Trump? I mean, originally I thought that Trump hired him as his VP because it was job security. Because if they were going to, but if he's Bush's insurance policy, then that would be motive for them to assassinate Trump, as opposed to not taking him out because he's in bed with the Bushes. So then
it's going to be easier to keep him there with a handler.
But maybe Trump realized what it was all about.
I see what you're saying.
No, it's funny as a
lot of people say, hey, there are these globalists that surround Bush. Wilbur Ross, Steve Mnuchin, former Goldman Sachs, his Secretary of the Treasury, Gary Cohn. People are looking at it the wrong way. What I understand, these folks, Trump's taken hostage. He brought him in and said, you know what? The Titanic already hit the iceberg, and you SOBs are the ones who put the Titanic, our ship, our country, into the thing. And guess what? You ain't getting off this ship into your lifeboats. You're on here with me, okay? And you knew how to manipulate the system, and you're going to manipulate. See, I believe that if you look at how Trump treated the financial scene before he was elected, he was talking about how markets were manipulated. They're all bogus. They're all blown up. They're all BS. The statistics are BS. And then when he gets in there, he's kind of like, hey, everything's great. Well, you see, I think he thought that we were in a certain financial, really bad situation, but he had a way to try to get out of it. And then he had that meeting with Obama right after he was elected. And I believe there were some players in the room when he had that meeting that said, you know what? No, we're not 21 trillion in debt. We're actually, you name the figure, 21 times whatever in debt. And he realized, I can't depreciate the dollar enough. I can't grow out of this. I can't cut regulations enough to get us where we need to be. And that's when he decided, okay, I need to bring hostages in. I need to buy some time so I can deal with these other world leaders that are holding our debt and seeing what we can do. Because let's face it, Trump is brilliant on a number of fronts, and people don't want to admit that, but he is the king of bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah.
Into bankruptcy, you want him in your corner to pull you out, because every time he got out of bankruptcy, he was better than he was going in. And I think what he was doing and what he is currently doing, and this is why the Fed hasn't been brought down yet, but I believe it will happen, is he is trying to shore up a bit of the foundation as best he can. So when the system collapses, and understand something, I believe the system has been rigged to blow for a long time. And if Hillary had won, they would have crashed it immediately. And it would have been 90% of the American population, 95% of the American population would have been devastated. And what Trump did is he realized he was rigged to blow. And what he's been trying to do is, if you will, damper out the fuse a bit so that he could try to set things up with a little more secure foundation, set things better with China, set things with the world creditors, and have things in a situation where that when it does come down, it's not as catastrophic. And that doesn't mean there aren't going to be some bad days, some bad weeks, maybe some bad couple months. But I think he's trying to dampen the effect of the collapse. That's what I think he's been doing.
We saw the report in early December that was released in, what will America do with 6 months with if it was an EMP attack or you needed to have no power grid. So even, again, they're slow rolling out just for the everyman, as opposed to the big things when it comes to our whole financial situation. Stevie, why don't you wrap us up and we'll take it home there, man.
I was just going to wrap up a little bit of humor. I think George W. might have had the Secret Service agents behind him, like a Vince McMahon, Bret Hart thing, where he's like, hey, when he reads that, just let him get the first punch and then just take him down. Like, like Dad was going to be like, you motherfucker, and start showing. That would have been great TV.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other thing too is now that they supposedly can wake up cadavers with stem cells, zombie George Bush 1 is coming back soon. I thought he was going to make his appearance there, so it's going to be.
Let's hope. I am truly hoping
the hand comes out of Arlington. Come on, you don't want the reboot, the whole nine.
That's why the Secret Service was there.
That would save Raw and SmackDown. It's only for wrestling.
That was just to hold G-Dub back from jumping in on the casket with him.
Dr. Janda, I want to say thank you so much, man. You've been probably our favorite guest ever, and much we've been doing this.
Thanks, guys. You guys need to get out more if that's the case.
We'd love to have you back. You know, as updates as this unfolds, we're going to be watching it in real time, and when it comes to Critical Mass, we'd love to have you back. Also, on the Infinite Fringe, which is another show we have on here, tons of great guests that are on the same shows that you circle around too. So I'll have them reach out as well. But please let our guests know what you're working on, how we can support you, and where we can go find you. Sally, go ahead, man.
Quick question. Now we've been on the show for a while, and Ben keeps getting emails from the NWO and the Illuminati to join up.
Oh,
have you ever been approached?
Thanks.
Have they ever said, listen, rather than go against us, why don't you come on with us? Why don't you join the winning team? Come on over. Have they ever approached you to be like, why don't you do this? Or try to pay you off, be like, hey, come on this side. It's much better over here. Maybe keep that research down a little bit.
All right, one last quick story. You got time?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely.
So in 1989, I was asked to testify in front of Congress, and I was doing the prevention thing and the healthcare cost containment thing. And I would never do this now, but after I was done, the testimony went well. And I blew some smoke at these guys. They were trying to talk when I was speaking, and I stopped. I said, you guys have a question about what I'm talking about? Because you don't know what I'm talking about. And they look at me, oh, no, we're discussing another important item. I go, I'll tell you what, you finish up, and then when you're done, I'm going to start all over again, because you need to hear this. Right? Well, so they kind of looked at me like, who the hell is this hillbilly that came in here from Chicago? This is nuts. So I do this thing, and afterwards I'm done, and this guy walks up to me. He goes, Dr. Janda, I'm so-and-so, and Lee Atwater, the chairman of the Republican Party, would like to talk to you. He was very impressed with what you did. Oh, okay, well, fine. He goes, well, follow me. We'll get in my car and we'll drive over. Now, I would never, ever do this now, ever, okay? But Bumpkin Dave gets in the car, and we drive over to this big white building and walk into RNC headquarters. I go in there, and he has his boots up on his desk, and there's this TV over him. He has C-SPAN, and he's playing the guitar. And nice guy, really nice guy. And he says, sit down. So I sit down, and he goes, I watched your testimony. I go, oh. He goes, it was really good. I liked it. I go, oh, well, thank you. That's very nice. He goes, look, you can communicate with people. He goes, I picked this stuff up because it's what I've done my whole life. He goes, you really can communicate well with people. Oh, well, thanks, you know. And my wife doesn't think so, but thanks. And he said, you know, someday you're going to be asked to run for office. Okay. And he goes, I don't care what office it is. He goes, I think you might win. He goes, you probably will win. He goes, but while you were coming over here, I did a little research. Now, this is where it got a little creepy. And he said, I know you're married, and I know you have a young daughter with red hair. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
1989 here, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And he said, let me tell you something. He goes, you're an honest guy. That's your rap. You can't be bought and paid for. You don't give a damn about money. You care about people. You don't fit into this town. It's an evil city. And he goes, understand something. If you run for office and you win, direct quote now, this whole thing is, I mean, it's one of those conversations, there's a couple conversations you have in your life that you always remember and you go back to. And I go back to this conversation a lot in my mind. And he said to me, they will kill you. And I don't mean figuratively. And I look at him, I go, what? He goes, guys like you don't last, okay? they will kill you. And I go, so is that a threat or is that friendly advice? And he said, I really like it. He goes, it's friendly advice. He goes, keep being a doc, keep doing your healthcare policy stuff, keep doing your prevention, keep doing your media stuff. He goes, it's fantastic. But don't run for political office. Okay? And I carry that conversation with me now almost 30 years later. And I stayed in touch with him afterwards. Now, about a year after that, he developed brain cancer and then died. But he really, I think, was looking out for me. Because, you know, I'm not going to get bought off. And I'm going to try to do the right thing. It might not turn out that way, but I'm going to try to do the right thing. And I think that his recommendation to me was sincere and honest and actually looking out for me. So it's interesting, when I retired January 1st, 2017, a lot of people said, oh, Jan is going to go into politics. And my answer was, why would you ever think that? I've never even made that indication. And please don't say that to anybody, because I go back to that conversation with Atwater.
Politics or not, you have the mindset of what people need is not just a healthcare provider, but obviously someone who's a truth seeker and can see through all the games. It'd be more of an appointed position, I think, because that's when you need somebody who's incorruptible to that level of and you need somebody with a backbone.
I would never make it through a Senate confirmation hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, just look at this interview today.
Yeah, you ruined yourself today coming on this show. You ruined yourself.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, coming on with us.
I've already ruined myself for God knows how many years because this is who I am and this is the way it is. Yeah. And you know, I can do more damage to the really bad players out there, just as you can do more damage to the really bad players doing what you do with this show and what I do with my show and my platform. And my goal, you know, my dad used to say, he was the greatest guy, you would have loved him. He said, you know, unless you're pissing somebody off every day, Dave, you're not living life the way it should be lived. He goes, because many people that do really bad things can't take the truth and the light of truth. Amen. And the best thing you can do in your life, Dave, is piss as many of those people off as possible. And that's what I do.
I think that's the Southside Chicago motto. Actually, they got their own flag.
It's the Chicago way.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, I go back to when my dad's mom died, and Old Man Daly showed up to the funeral. And my dad started small, but he ended up getting big, building big buildings in Chicago. And I was about 7, 8 years old when my grandmother died, and Old Man Daly comes up to me, and he starts shaking his finger in front of my face. And he says, you know why I love your father? And my dad was a conservative, right? And Daly was, you know, this huge Dem, right? Mm-hmm. But they got along really great. And Daly said, you know, why I love your father is that he's the only guy who ever told me to my face to go F myself. And he goes, if you're as honest as your father, if you have 1/10 of the honesty as your father, you will be a success in life. And that's what I've tried to do. And I've made a lot of enemies by telling people the truth. I've had a lot of people very upset with me for telling the truth. But I tell people what I think they need to know, and it might not be what they want to hear.
Speaking truth to power is what we try and do here. And we're glad that, you know, as connected as you are throughout your whole career and all the influence that you had, that, again, you give us some time to talk, you know,
No
the whole
influence,
gambit of
guys.
everything that's going on.
The system wouldn't be a disaster if I had influence. Right? I really, in a way, have been a pretty big failure because the programs that we started 30 years ago never went into effect.
Yet. A lot of this stuff that's going into effect now has been on the books for 50, 60 years. So just how it is. But you can find him, guys. Go visit his website, DaveJanda, JANDA.com. Let him know how much you appreciate him by hitting him up, following him on Twitter at DHJ, DOC, DHJ. Follow him on Twitter. Thank him for coming on the Conspiracy Horseman. We'd appreciate that, guys. Anything else, Doc, that we can help
we also
promote?
have the YouTube channel, Operation Freedom. I just put that YouTube that we spoke about earlier with Charles Woods, the father of Ty Woods from Benghazi. It's a brief one, but it's really I'm very proud of that interview, and we've really caused a bit of a firestorm in the 24 hours it's been out. I have the website, DaveJanda.com. If they want to listen to my live radio show every Sunday, it airs every Sunday live from 2 to 5 Eastern. They just go to DaveJanda.com, go to the upper right-hand corner, hit the listen button, and they can stream it free. We have our the free side to DaveJanda.com. We have the subscription side. It's 30 cents a day, $9 a month. Folks can sign up for a month. If they don't like it, get rid of it. But I have the podcast for the show for the subscribers. I also do what's called a WTF show. It's about what's happening geopolitically from the information I'm getting from my contacts. It's a show I do on Wednesdays and on Thursdays. I do my Insider Insight interviews where I take somebody that I've known for a long time, bring them out. I had Charles Woods last week that we spoke to. And then this week I have Kevin Shipp, former CIA officer.
Wow.
That I bring forward. That and Kevin's a friend. We have I think a really good discussion and stuff that folks won't see on the fake media. We also have a Department of Advanced Research show hosted by Nick Ruiz. We got these healthcare policy briefings. So we have a lot of stuff on the subscription side, and then we have the YouTube channel, which of course is free. And I usually upload about one YouTube a week of information that gets me in trouble.
Is there any Doc Janda merch? Do we have any hats, shirts?
No,
Arrows, Messiah arrows.
I guess
Arrows.
I like it. Yeah. We can.
The guys in the chat room are all saying thanks for coming on.
I don't think anybody would buy that.
Don't you? Our
right
crazy
here,
man.
I would buy Doc Janda merch.
Yeah, our chat room saying thank you. They loved having you on. We want you to come back, Doc, and as things heat up, we'll definitely be in touch, man. So thank you for taking so much time out to cover so many topics. Are great. Yeah, appreciate it, man. If you like you said, if you need some muscle, you know who to call. The Conspiracy Horsemen are in your corner, Doc.
Boy, that would be awesome.
We appreciate it, man. No one will interrupt you in any congressional hearing if we're sitting behind you. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, if that ever happens again, not that they'll ever have me back, but if that ever happens again, I'll call you guys.
We're in, baby.
Nice.
We are in.
Love to be on C-SPAN.
We're all in.
We'll come with the titles.
That would be awesome.
Gigi P will just sit there in his trunks and boots and no shirt on. They won't know what to do, man. They'll be distracted.
You know what? It would be.
He's too old.
C-SPAN history.
That would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah, Papadon's too old for those people in Washington. They won't like that.
That's true.
Yeah, they only like him at 12 and under. But yeah, we appreciate it, Doc, and thanks so much for coming on. And we'll definitely post this.
Thanks to you guys, what you do. You know what? You guys serve a huge purpose, and you really awaken so many people. And I thank you because it takes courage to do what you do.
Right.
Both in the ring and outside the ring, and I appreciate that, and our country does too.
Yeah, you must have worked Stevie before because he's dangerous. You got to watch out. All right, Doc, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much once again, and you have a great day, sir.
Thanks, you too. Be safe.
Bye.
Nice seeing you.
That's so weird because I didn't want to interrupt the story, but in 9th grade, somebody came to me and said, never get into politics or they'll kill you. And I was like, you're right. So I decided to wrestle instead. So it's weird how we ran those parallels.
Yeah, well, but you got involved in even harder politics. Dude, I like how in the locker room he is. How did you feel those locker room gameplays? I could just feel it like people these names like, ooh, that motherfucker. How we set him up to fucking fail, you know?
Dude, when earlier on in the conversation, before everything started going, and you were explaining to him how the politics in wrestling comes about. I was about to say, yeah, the politics in Washington can't even touch remotely come close to the politics in wrestling.
Well, the politics plays, but they can't play it the right way. Like the Clintons would be dead in a wrestling locker room because they would never have gotten that far without getting their throats cut before that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think what I heard was when we were talking about, oh yeah, we would work around a bunch of scumbags, and this guy was like, hold my fucking beer. That's pretty much what it was.
His face never changed. He was at no point was he like,
no,
really?
he's
He was just like, yeah, all right, yeah.
You fucking minor leakers,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
He had the I know, guys. I work here. You know, like he definitely that nailed it. The fucking hold my beer. That was it. That was, you guys work scumbags, huh? Hang on a minute.
GGP, I got to say thank you. You shine like a diamond on this show, man. You were great, GGP. You were excellent, man. I just was
dude, I have a passion for this finance thing. It irks me so much.
Wasn't even that. You guys just had the best chemistry too. I mean, obviously that, but you know, you guys just going, man. And I just wanted to say thank you.
I can make a broom look good.
Why don't you do your own podcast? We were joking about the name, but call it regardless of the facts.
Yeah.
And just why don't you do a financial conspiracy podcast?
I barely got time to do this podcast. I wish I could. I want to do a Star Wars podcast on the Ben Hamin group.
Dude, you could literally just set up your phone. He has his Apple earpods in, and he does a YouTube show every week from that.
That's it.
I mean, that's literally plugs in.
What you have right there in front of you is plenty.
Yeah.
And did you watch now?
How do you know? How did you guys know I had my pants off? Wow. Mas gyro.
But man, I gotta say, guys, that's a guy you just gotta let him go and try and steer the conversation if you can. Stevie, you did a great job bringing it back to the Bush funeral. Because that's there it is. Hello, Stevie. Yeah, this is for all you Asians in the basement. Daddy's home. Oh, sleeves. What a swerve. For those not watching the video right now, Stevie's taking off his dress shirt as he was, dressed business cash.
It smells like a cat. My cat's fur after she cleaned herself for 2 hours.
Steve, I wanted to say, no, you did a great job bringing it back to that funeral because he had touched on that on some other interviews, but I wanted him to go in on it. And even though he tried to be vague, I had to throw him under the bus a little bit because I wanted to know what he meant by that because we watched all those reactions, but we're not in their locker room, and he is. And I think he told the tale without telling it a bit more, you know?
Yeah, I think he appreciated the fact that we threw a little bit of just goofy humor in there and just kind of, you know what I mean? He can't be like that all. And he probably thinks that too, man. Wouldn't it be something if fucking Jeb just jumped on top of George like, you motherfucker,
yeah, you bastard.
Dude, that would have been like I would have just been like, we're out after this. There's nothing that can top that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the fact that, have you heard that anyplace? I didn't hear it on his other Stooges. He's on with, like I said, with guys who are third-party hosts, the third-party media, independent media, who want to be credible, like not carnies like us. Where here it is, the fact of like that your brother just flipped on you, bro. Like that's some serious locker room stooge shit to save your ass, and everyone's getting a note at your old man's funeral about it. Damn,
that's gangster.
That's cold, the motherfucker right there, dog.
Like what the fuck, or even like just a Hillary, you know what I mean? He was the only one that was like, yep, that's all he did. You know what I mean? Like
we were joking about it in the chat room, but all I kept thinking about during that whole bit was when Mo Green got whacked, when all those guys got whacked at the end of the Godfather movie, and he's in the communion, and like, you know, so there's Trump sitting there with his, you know, okay, great. I mean, while all these guys are looking at this shit like, oh fuck.
And that literally, knowing Trump, that could have been exactly why he did it. Like, I like the Godfather, so I'm gonna just do it that way.
It could be as easy as that.
Anybody else here, Doc?
What do you think the note said? Like, pets can't save you now.
Well, he said if it's a best of list, I was just wondering if they each have their own like thing, like got you on Clinton Foundation. Like there's just one thing that like they all had their own, because you could get Jeb, you could go back to voter fraud in 2000 if you wanted to. There's got to be a way to prove that.
Well, the
in
thing
Florida.
is too, I think because of where they were sitting, it could have been text. Where Jeb was looking at it, it almost had to be more visual. So I'm saying that there was maybe something written on there, but there was also compromising pictures, something that.
I thought you just meant Jeb was illiterate and he can't read, so they have to draw things out for him. And shit.
I was waiting for him after he read it to be like that and turn to everybody and go, please clap.
Yeah, please clap.
Everybody at the funeral.
Dude.
Please clap.
On the paper it said, time to play the game.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Game over.
It was
Game
actually
over.
the script for Raw. Oh, God, this is
No,
bad.
not this. Fuck. 2 back-to-back women's tag matches and a fucking.
Dude, it's got to be a meme. Make the meme, Dirty Turnbuckle. Make it.
Oh,
God.
shit.
That was our
awesome.
best one, man. That and the Bill Burns one, Tim Alberino. There was like one A, B, C,
Yeah.
3-way tie type
AB
stuff.
3-way tie. Yep.
Yeah, AB3. I mean,
Yeah, man.
Gotta keep
That's just, hey, you guys, like you say, anybody can be gotten to. It was just a well-placed email. Followed up with me, and you know, if you got other people you want to send our way, or who are high-level guests, or you're enjoying on other conspiracy shows that are in your playlist, and you think they'd be good guests here, please send them to us. You guys know where to find us at BWO Stevie, at bin_Hameen, at Dead No Save, and at Greek God Papadon. We appreciate all the research you guys do, and I think everybody really did enjoy this show. That was just one of those high-level guests who doesn't belong in Carney locker room. However, I feel like that guy could survive as an agent
He
day
belongs.
one.
He knows
Yeah,
what to do.
like he could show up to WWE, not know fuck all about wrestling, and still, you know, be able to hold his own based on the locker rooms he's been in.
He's the guy walking through the locker room with the book, and someone fucks with him. He holds up the pencil, rips it around. And goes,
Yeah, yeah,
by the way, he only went to notes once.
yeah, right.
So that's how this guy is just such a, he's got everything laid down, and that just shows you the amount of research rather than somebody that's always looking. And there's nothing wrong with looking at your notes and looking at bullet points, but there was only one time, and it was when he was trying to quote the hearing on
Moynihan
the
and
Clintons.
Doyle. Yeah,
He wanted to get those quotes right because it was still fresh and was something new.
that's. I'm gonna
Everything
reach
else-
out to Moynihan and Doyle and see if I can get one of them or both. I'd like to
That's
see.
awesome.
That'd be that. I wrote
But
that down
the-
as soon as he said it.
But he
The
did that
fact that
all
he
off of
said-
memory. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It was all just like, that's how you know someone's not really kind of bullshit, and there was no ums or
Well,
ahs or anything. It was all really just amazing.
I mean, the thing is that he's in that locker room, so he's going to be
he
in
just
tune
said-
to
Did you just see that?
Yeah,
Shep?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
he sent it. You know, he's gonna keep an eye on all the shit that's going on in his locker room, even if he's not in on it. We we watch the sheets too. They just don't have the political dirt sheets every day, which actually would be a fucking smart thing to do, but people be getting stooged off because it would actually matter in the direction of the country as opposed to phony ass wrestling.
Not to put ourselves over, but I mean, because we told them right off the bat, you know, we're 4 professional wrestlers, and I can put it on. Oh, sorry, and
Yes, sir.
thank you for- so case in point, I was saying was, man, CT is kicking in right now. Oh, we told him we're pro wrestlers right off the bat. So he had one expectation, like these four idiots are not going to be able to fuck.
What?
Sorry,
Are
these
you
four-
stroking out? What's happening?
which
Dude's for 100. It is.
Hey, dude, you
1,000.
5'6", 11 feet. For
which
my baloney
which
pencil.
Shiloh
No.
which Shiloh is that in?
Shiloh LaBeouf. That's Shiloh LaBeouf. That's what I didn't say Shiloh. I said Shiloh.
It did say
And-
Shiloh. You
Shut up.
Shiloh like a motherfucker.
So, anyhow, case in point. What I want to say is, we opened up saying, hey, we're 4 professional wrestlers, and obviously the stereotypes with 4 professional wrestlers are that we're, you know, boxer rocks are usually smarter than a professional wrestler or any fighter, because that's why they get into the business, because they can't hack it in the real world. But then I think he was amazed at how much we really knew, because his eyes lit up a few times when we would drop bullet points in our conversations, any one of us, and he'd be like, oh shit, you know, like, oh, I heard this, but I can't, my sources couldn't confirm or deny. How the fuck did you hear about that?
Yeah,
you know,
that's
yeah,
not a
that
guy
was-
you lead
I
down
think
the.
he thought he was putting training wheels on some of the content until we
Sure.
started coming back.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and we're not going to take it to the point of with a guy like that. What do you think about the Trump time travel, you know, thing that's kind of been hitting the news in the last 48 hours? But because there's just so much to stooge that guy knows the players when they were CIA or military men that are now in power of the high level. And I thought that was another very interesting point of the civil war that's going on in the segmented cabal, and that it's Trump and the military industrial complex, big money, big business, but regulating the emotional players who get elected on the popularity side and fucking, you know, taking them to task because they know that they've got the real foundation, and the popularity can switch based on whatever propaganda you put out there.
You and the fucking proton mail.
Listen, to me, it's very. Just so we can relate, it's like Andre versus Hogan at WrestleMania.
It's just like that.
No, actually, it's you know what it is. You know what
He's
it's
not
like?
typing now, by the way. He's cut off. Transmission ended. Good job, Sal.
What did Sal write? I missed it.
Proton mail. He's trying to sell him a proton mail account. He's on AOL. God.
It's like NWO Wolfpack versus NWO Black and White.
It's just like that. It's just
Except
like,
everybody dies.
he said, and the LWO takes over.
Except this is better booked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like yeah.
You know what I mean?
The only other thing I really saw, that we didn't bring up was supposedly there's a coup d'etat going on in Venezuela right now, U.S.
Yeah, a
backed.
couple of guys were mentioning that.
And
what's his name?
And one thing
Jose
that
and Jose B.
I saw that I wanted to bring up, but I knew it was going to take us a while. But Janet on another one, the videos I watched, they said there's been 12 attempts on Trump's life already, and still pushing forward. I don't know. I got to do some more research on that. I didn't want to go into it blind because that seems like a pretty big topic.
Yeah, a couple of guys were talking about Maduro, and how Trump's trying to get rid of him as he's trying to start a coup. That whole bit.
Mm-hmm. And well, then
wanted to ask
they
about
came out
too.
and said they're not gonna do any more trade with the U.S. in a retaliation. So something went down that I imagine in the next 48 hours will.
Also, we didn't get to it just because there was a lot going on. I want to.
Oh, he just told you he got encryption on his email from his buddies from the government.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he just said I'll look into it.
Yeah.
But
I'll look into your fucking kindergarten email in a minute, Sal.
He's like CERN is be like. Yeah, I would say come back, Sal, with you can't trust it because if it's a government shutdown. But CERN's in a shutdown right now too, so no one can be trusted with their encryptions.
Oh, how
Anyway.
cool.
I'm digressing from the fact. Let me go
So they both shut down at the same time.
Irregardless of the fact.
Irregardless of the facts, let's not confuse the facts with
irregardlessness.
I
We
think
probably go.
irregardless.
We could have left on the high. We could have left on the high note after the interview. I think
we could.
We're
taking it down. Let's.
No, actually, I have a question. Actually, I want from Mose. He actually brought something up, and I actually wanted to run up past you guys.
Cousin Mose.
Something about them knocking down Mount
Flaming
Sinai.
Mount?
They're talking about plowing down Mount Sinai for a mega city.
Yeah, I saw that in the chat, but I haven't seen a story on it. Definitely something we should keep an eye on.
Wait, Mount Sinai, Long Island?
Yeah, the hospital. They want to fuck it over.
Yeah,
they'll Starrett City Part 2.
No, the real deal. No, I hadn't seen that or heard that. Just in the chat was the first time I had checked that out. If you guys want to see a good video, we passed around Secure Team 10, some very cool UFO footage that was captured on a drone where the UFO comes right at the drone at a speed that's not known to mankind, supposedly in commercial flight, that this thing was going at. There's no way.
The only thing that moves faster is when freaking Billy Gunn and Bob Holly throws Stevie out of the ring.
That's it.
That's the only thing that moved faster than that fast walker.
Stevie?
Thank you. I just recovered from that after 8 months, so we can walk properly again. Appreciate it.
Nice. Just don't try and run. We don't want you to get
Very
rid
nice.
Sally, I've got it uploaded, but I'm going to start promoting it tomorrow because usually Thursday's a tougher day on Hameen, so I wanted to wait and kind of preview it that way. But the new Horror Junkyard is available now, you guys. Please check it out, download it, and let us know what you think. What was the, I forget.
Mom and Dad with Nick Cage and Selma Blair.
Yeah.
A real fucking
Tony Blair?
fest.
Was it bad? How bad was it? Real bad?
It was okay. It was cool, but Selma Blair is just basically there to
Did Nicolas
masturbate
Cage
to.
did Nicolas Cage pull any Nicolas Cage acting?
The whole fucking movie is Nicolas Cage. And then we're doing our this Sunday we're recording the second part of our Rage for the Cage month with his movie Mandy, which is another fucking abortion. It's fucking awful.
Well, we appreciate you torturing yourself as Stevie and I have to sit through Raw and SmackDown, and you have to sit through the chats as we go back and forth, which is absolutely brutal as well.
Well,
also, just
so
I
I
want to tease this. You can't do anything. Just sit there.
No,
We're going to we're pulling Stevie into the awful world of horror movies.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I'm saying this on the air, so now he's forced to do it. We're going to
horror movies on the Hallmark Channel.
Wait, check this one out. We are going to buy Stevie a copy of the Exorcist video game for the PlayStation VR.
Oh wow!
And he is gonna play it, and I want his review. If we can get him to videotape it while he's playing it, it'll be fucking amazing.
I'm gonna stream it. You don't have to pay for it. I'll get it. I'll get it. I watched a little bit of gameplay footage, and it's some. Those games are pretty creepy when you're in VR because it's I mean, it's I'll get it and I'll do it for that. So that I'll be streaming that up on the YouTube channel.
Are you gonna dress Biz Cash when you do it or no?
I think so. Even though you don't see the camera, I just did that to pop the voice.
You should dress like a priest.
Yeah.
I was like, he'll be on for a half hour, and he'll be on for a half hour, and then I can just change.
Good rib. But you can get Big Sally stuff at ProWrestlingTees.com/SEG shirts, which sale starts Friday. I believe there's a 72-hour sale for the Royal Rumble. I think it's 15% off. So hop on over there and grab a Conspiracy Horseman shirt if you want to.
We got to put up Scott Moser's his artwork that he did for Hard Junkyard. We're gonna put that the new shirt. It's fucking awesome.
Nice.
Awesome, man.
It's amazing.
Great.
And I think you guys, by the way, should design shirts for Dr. Janda.
I think
you know what? Let's work on some fucking Doc Janda merch.
You should have a panda playing Jenga on the shirt.
And it makes no sense to anyone else but us.
Polarizing.
That's good stuff.
Twin Jenga towers.
Down they come. And you can always get at them at the Horror Junkyard at protonmail.com with any suggestions of shitty movies that you want them to review.
Is that the CERN?
That is one of the most secure servers on there, I believe.
Oh, just checking.
The mail is actually already sent before you even type it. That's how in the future they fucking are.
They are so ahead of their time. We already have your email. So thank you guys.
The man of the hour, good-looking fellow himself, GGP. Let us know, man. What's up?
Couple things. First off, mega pop on the chip plug you threw in there just to take a jab at good old Sally Balls. That was good. I popped for that. Secondly, Stevie, if you play this VR Exorcist game, is this scare the shit out of you so bad that you're only going to get 1 hour of sleep per night and actually be
jacked.
in shape?
Think about how
jacked,
I am getting less sleep. Look at this.
Oh, you're looking good, dude.
Look at that. Permit for that fucking thing?
Woo!
You got permits for this?
Why is the one way bigger than the other one? That's fucking weird.
Because the one was torn. Thank you, Sabu, for saying, if I just put your face on the table and just put your hand up, and then that'll protect your eye from getting cut. Well, my eye got cut way open, and I tore my bicep. And he goes, "Them's the breaks."
And you can read all about that in Sabu's new book, I think, out now.
Yeah, them's the breaks. That's the name of it.
Nice. That's the name of the show. Them the breaks.
Go ahead, GGP.
All right,
let us know.
So let's see. This Saturday, I will be at NYWC with my tag team partner Talon, and we will be wrestling the Beaver Boys, Alex Reynolds and Johnny Silver. You can catch me, obviously, at Greek God Papadon. It's been dropped a million times since we've been doing the show, so if you don't realize it, you're dumber than you look. Demetrius Papadon is the Facebook account. Greek God Papadon is the YouTube channel. And at Pro Wrestling Tees / Greek God Papadon is the Pro Wrestling Tees store where you can get 15% off on the 72-hour sale that we're going to have over Royal Rumble weekend. And if you add 7 and 2, you get 9. And if you have the 1 and 6, you get 1 and 5, you get 6. So 69. So it's good for everybody.
That's it. You can get all the sexual innuendo and T-shirts you can get in one plug.
Sexual Nintendos all day long, baby. Woo!
And you're talking about the man tonight who tried to steal the show, but GGP just had to upstage him coming from Chainsaws. It's Stevie Richards Fitness himself. Everyone doing great things. I was actually I didn't want to go in, but I thought maybe send Dr. Jana the program and try and get an endorsement as an orthopedist, especially on the shoulder stuff. Might be worth it. A conspiracy and orthopedic surgeon endorsing Stevie Richards Fitness. What do you think, Stevie?
Good idea.
Yeah, I think I will reach out to him about that and get some advice on the program. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
He seems like a really genuinely nice guy that wants to help. So that would be great to pass that kind of knowledge along to everybody. With both resistance band programs, a 12 and a 16-week resistance band training program at StevieRichardsFitness.com, you have any questions, you can email me, Stevie Richards Fitness at the unsecure@gmail.com address. And if you type if you type the unsecure before Gmail, then like Papadon said, you're dumber than you look. Thank you for listening. So other than that, follow me at BWO Stevie on Twitter, at Stevie Richards on Instagram, ProWrestlingTees.com/Stevie Richards, 15% off. That's 15 people. That's one person, $1 for every person that will watch the Royal Rumble this weekend on the WWE Network. So 15.
Nice.
And then you like that?
Yeah.
So, and also on
real quick?
Sure.
Can we get Dr. Janga to write the disclaimer to your the forward to your disclaimer for the fans?
He will write they will write two different versions. So if anybody in Washington, there's really no guarantees for anybody in Washington, especially if you're a whistleblower.
Yeah.
No disclaimer will help you.
The Washington version only ships with 3 red bands, so you and 2 of your friends can kill yourself on a doorknob.
3 red bands and a 2-year-old.
Staple gun.
A 2-year-old in an Uber and hot tub.
That's right.
So, but also on patreon.com/Stevie Richards, I'm going to be uploading another match analysis tomorrow. Last week was Raven versus me from Sunday Night Heat, also known as Stevie Night Heat, and really good analysis to break that down, and something that a lot of people who commented about that match. This is heat. This is something that was a throwaway show way back in 2002, and it had more of a reaction than anything on Raw and SmackDown. And that's not me being arrogant. That's the people and the angles that we did there actually were more exciting, made sense, and more organic than it's amazing if 2 guys that the company didn't give a fuck about and threw you on the B show and didn't even watch your matches or anything were getting over more than the guys they throw every bit of social media and YouTube and every bit of the PR machine today. And that just proves that they need to let the boys and the girls do their own thing and get themselves over. So you can check that out. There's different tiers to get the match analysis and stuff like that. And I'm really glad people are enjoying it.
Awesome, man. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the next one. And, they tried to throw those ECW and WCW guys that got themselves over with great work on a B show and thought that would be enough to suffice. Little did they know that good work and diehard fans will find each other in their faces once again. And they'll just keep touching their own bruises until they finally fucking learn, or else it all falls down around them. So we'll see which way it goes, infidels. You know me, it's at bin_Hameen on Twitter, at HackerHameen on Instagram for all the $5 face slaps. Get the best at ProWrestlingTees.com/all of our stores, or slash your throats, infidels. Save 15% if you want to. Join up the Hameen Media discussion group, hackerhameen.podbean.com, russobrand.com for Master Shoot Theater and all the blasphemy talk you can handle here on your Conspiracy Horsemen. YOLO. Agenda.